Well, guys, we are back for another episode of the Little Asshole Show, episode 95. And what are today's topics?
Charlie Kirk is a racist Klansman. Conservatives declare war on Taylor Swift. Connecticut's governor cancels medical debt. Dear Republicans, dump Trump and support Hailey. No immunity for Trump. Republicans blow up their own deal. And Hockey Canada sexual assault scandal.
Oh boy, we're going to be busy because a lot of these videos are very long. So what do we start with first?
Let's start with Charlie Kirk being a racist Klansman Nazi.
Kirk, being an idiot as always, as he pretty much admitted that he is racist. And what was he crying about this time? Oh, diversity with airline pilots. I know. Yep. That's some Karen level stuff, but yes, he raged and moaned about it, and he pretty much said that he was racist on the very first part of the video. So let's get this started, shall we?
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the game.
Well, there you go, right off the bat. Racist as hell.
Literally instant racism.
Let's see, 4 seconds in.
You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that
before.
That's not
who
I
am. That's
no.
not
it
what
is
I
who you are,
the
Kirk.
reality the left has
created.
How is it that you're 2 weeks older than me and you turned out this? I don't get it.
Your ears are not deceiving you, my friends. You heard that correctly. The left made Charlie Kirk racist.
Yeah, sure, it's our fault.
Yep. See, it's the left's fault that Charlie Kirk is suspicious of black pilots specifically when that's not really who he is. He swears, but because of this push for diversity from the left, he's now forced to side-eye anyone who's black and assume that they're there specifically because they're black and not because they're qualified. See, in general, pilots are required to have college degrees. They're required to have 20/20 vision and not be colorblind. They're required
hundreds
to pass
of hours
background
of
checks
training
and complete written exams.
Because remember, we actually covered this, some time ago about airline industry wanted to like loosen the requirements for like pilot training. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they require hundreds of hours of flight time before they can actually be a pilot and all that. And these guys act like, good. Diversity means they're just going to be a pilot by default because they're a minority. That ain't how it works, dumbass.
Mention 1,500 hours of flight time before they're able to obtain their pilot license. But, if they're black, they don't have to do any of that. They don't have to have the same qualifications. They just show up with their resume, let the people know who does the certification that they're black, and then they get a plane within a week. That's how it works. The stupidity here is just, it's so insane to me, and just the blatant racism here is, it's not shocking. Like, I don't think shocking is
what
I just imagine Charlie Kirk being like, he walks up for his local coffee, he sees a black person, like, she's a black person is a diversity hire. They're not qualified to to make my coffee. Black people are not qualified to do anything. Because he's a racist Klansman Nazi.
And here's something I just thought of too. How would you even know what background your pilot is on planes you fly on? I've flown on planes before.
It's because they use skin color and accent. Because that's how much of a shit stain. That's how loose-brained racist shit stain they are.
Because I've flown on planes before. And only one time I knew the race of one of the pilots. And that's because it was on a very small plane. It had like a few people in it, so it was like easy to see a pilot. Actual jets, never seen them whatsoever. Only heard of them. So how would you assume that? That's pretty racist to assume otherwise.
Is the right word. I just think that I'm a bit surprised that he's not trying more to hide it. But he went on to further explain his racist thinking. So let's listen.
I want to like cookie cutter like.
Pilot.
Yeah, this is so easy to me. I don't want LaQuisha James.
They have
who
that like
comes up,
pilot voice,
and she's just like, "Hi, ladies and gentlemen, pray for me."
and the truth is, it's just this is a creation that the left wanted.
Getting kind of misogynistic
they
too.
Think you can't say anything about it.
That's right. That's right. We know you're misogynistic because your meltdown about Taylor Swift a month ago. Yeah. Which, by the way, we're going to be getting to again because more Karens are out
They'll
about.
call you a racist, And this is where we really have to take the gloves off and say your name calling will not get in the way of people's safety at 35,000.
It's offensive.
It is so interesting to me that he specifically attributes a lack of safety to black pilots, yet he thinks it's outrageous to call them racist. He's not citing any study or statistic indicating that black pilots in particular are worse than white pilots, and he's not doing that because that's not the case. But he's just choosing to make that connection in his own head. That if they're black, I'm going to assume that they're not qualified. But don't you dare call him racist. Now, just so we're clear, when he says cookie cutter, he means white. That's what he means. But by his logic, we should actually assume that we're less safe with male pilots since men are statistically more likely to be colorblind than women. It's estimated that 1 in 12 men are colorblind compared to 1 in 200 women.
1 in 12? Really? 1 in 12 men are colorblind? That seems...
Whoa.
I would like to see more studies on that. That seems ridiculously high. Jeez. That's almost 10%.
Doesn't seem to worry about male pilots and think, gee, I hope that they're not colorblind. In fact, if you watch that segment more, they said they'd prefer to have a male pilot, somebody named Chad with a southern accent. But
so you're
he's
right,
not
we already know you're misogynist,
saying,
right.
man, I really hope that I have a female pilot because they're less likely to be colorblind, because that would be absurd.
It's more common. It's how a lot of the colorblindness is passed down. It's usually passed down through the X chromosome. It's X-linked.
Okay.
Right? He knows there are specific qualifications.
That's why it's far more common in men than in women.
That pilots have to meet to become certified and get licensed. But when it comes to black pilots in particular, you just can't be too sure. Yeah, and as Good Politic Guy put it, Boeing spent years cutting corners, spending billions on stock buybacks, getting government handouts, prioritizing shareholder over safety, and the right takes this story of corruption and is just like, no, the issue is black people. Exactly. You know, there's a word for that, but it's not quite coming to my mind. I think it starts with an R, racing. I don't know, but there's something that people call that, right? But I mean, to be fair, Charlie Kirk isn't just worried about black pilots. He's also fearful about black people in other important jobs. For example, he doesn't want a black surgeon as well.
Surgeon and flight are the top two, where it's like no one really cares when it's HR managers. No one cared when it was, just kind of paper shufflers or even engineers. But now when it's like, wait, hold on a second. You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian?
Yeah. Well, you.
Oh, now I have a problem with minority
it's so interesting to me
now.
that black people always come up with his mind first.
Now we just need the transphobia, and we're good, and we've got the whole
package. Come on, Kirk. Be transphobic. Let's go. Let's get all in one go.
First, when he's concocting these hypothetical examples of somebody not being qualified.
Let's go. Come on, do it, Kirk.
What is the context?
Kirk, because we need you to be a pro. We need you to be a full-on Nazi.
Here, right? Because he can't be that blatantly racist, can he? There's got to be some underlying argument that gives him a little bit of plausible deniability, right? Well, no. This is just pure, unadulterated racism. But conservatives think it's okay to be suspicious of black people if you're talking about them within the confines of DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, DEI has become a bit of a buzzword or a buzz acronym, kind of like CRT, because it allows them to cloak their racism in an intellectual facade, when in actuality, it's just racism.
It seems to me you conservatives make up your own words that you assume the left of, and then when we hear them, like, what are you talking about?
At least they think that it's kind of helping to hide their racism when it's not. But DEI is a push largely by corporations and organizations to include marginalized groups that have been historically excluded from certain positions despite having the same qualifications as their white counterparts, which is key. It's a good thing in actuality, just like CRT is also a good thing, contrary to popular belief. But conservatives view inclusion as them being replaced, or perhaps they just don't want to share spaces with black people and people of color. So rather than just saying that, they'll invoke DEI or affirmative action to complain about the presence of black people and people of color in traditionally white spaces. See, if they didn't like seeing people of color in historically white spaces like a college campus, for example, they think it sounds less racist if they say, hey, that person, should they be here? It must be because of affirmative action. They must have not worked as hard as me to get here.
Sure.
Now, DEI to them is the new affirmative action, but it's better because they can apply it to more things. But DEI is a sort of get out of jail free card to them when it comes to racism, because it allows them in their mind to basically give themselves a pass for their own racism. And so long as they invoke it, what they say is not racist. So if you don't want to see a black person as your pilot because you're racist, you can simply play the DEI card and concern troll about their qualifications rather than just admitting that you're a racist and you think they're inferior. And that's how they think it shields them from accusations of racism. And that's exactly what Charlie Kirk is doing here. But if what he said just sounds like regular racism to you, congratulations, your brain still works properly. This is overt racism from someone who is very prominent within Republican circles, in the Republican Party. Yep. And if you're wondering whether or not prominent conservatives plan to distance themselves from him after making these blatantly racist remarks...
Oh, definitely not. They never will.
No, they're not. In fact, they're doing the opposite. They are coming out to defend him and insisting that...
white helmets and white suits on with and march alongside him.
Not surprised.
Said that you just heard is not actually racist. Here's what popular YouTuber The Quartering had to say in response.
Oh, quivering!
I don't necessarily...
yes, the quivering.
I mean, I don't care. I know that, like, I don't view that as an overtly racist comment because...
Of course you wouldn't, quivering.
Not only... I mean, the context is right on the screen. It says DEI in the cockpit. You know, like
that doesn't mean like they're not gonna go through training or whatsoever. They're still got to like everyone else.
It's just
exactly.
You know, I would also maybe add women to that.
Oh, misogyny too, quivering.
My wife is a pilot.
You're gonna be a misogynist.
Very competent one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure his wife is thrilled to have conservatives question her competency because of DEI. You know, he says that she's competent even though she's a woman, but she is still a woman, so who can really say? But you see how Charlie Kirk invoking DEI basically had the same effect as an Uno reverse card here. Because the quartering, if you watch the full video, you can kind of see the gears turning in his head. He's like, man, this sounds racist, but he did play the DEI card, so I guess he's not. You know, the DEI card, I guess it's just... it really is magical. It worked on other conservatives as well. For example, Matt Walsh defended Charlie Kirk on Twitter saying,
why am I not surprised?
No, it's not racist. Don't be ridiculous.
It's not
the point
racist.
Charlie Kirk is making, that when you hire people based on DEI instead of skill and merit, you create this kind of wariness and
by
suspicion.
skill or merit.
DEI policies have done that. Not Charlie Kirk. Of course, a black pilot could be perfectly qualified, but when United announces, quote, we're going to hire more black pilots, we are left to wonder if any one particular pilot is there because he's the best, or if he's there because he fills the demographic quota.
They're gonna get
rid
the
of
job
DEI
based upon
and
their
all
skills,
forms of affirmative action, and this concern disappears. Notice how he just assumes that they're there because they're black and they didn't undergo any of the same procedures to get qualified as the white pilots. But conservative intellectual Jordan Peterson also chimed in saying, yeah, no. Live by die, die by die. Diversity, inclusivity, equity. But Tim Pool also chimed in, responding to a liberal account calling Charlie Kirk racist, saying, Ed knows exactly what Charlie is saying, that racist hiring policies give him pause, not that he thinks race plays a factor in skill. Now, note that Tim Pool is unironically arguing that it's actually racist to finally start hiring black people and people of color, which is a very interesting take here. But my favorite response comes from this large right-wing account on Twitter, which says people are trying to say Charlie Kirk is racist because of this. Man, why would they say that? I don't think this has anything to do with race, but more so to do with how they've weaponized race via DEI to justify placing unqualified individuals into positions that are jeopardizing the safety of others.
That's not happen as long as, you know, the airline industry doesn't get to deregulate like they tried to like last year or so when we covered it. That's when it actually would lead to jeopardizing the safety of passengers. But this,
they had to temporarily ground a bunch of planes recently.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, that's right! Something we never covered.
Black people were cutting corners.
A plane model in American Airlines had to get grounded recently because there was so many problems with it that made it unsafe. That's right! Yep. Forgot all about that. Exactly. Yep. If one throws regulations, people could potentially die from all that. So, yeah, regulation for the win as always.
Thank you so much for clearing that up. I really appreciate it. You know, I personally thought that it had everything to do with race, considering the fact that Charlie Kirk literally said, and I quote, "If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified." But, you know, since he played the DEI card, I guess we just have to assume it's not racist. This is exhausting. Exhausting. Now, he predictably doubled down and addressed all of the conservatives who had his back, and he was touched. Quote, "Really encouraged by the amount of support and backup I've received over the DEI pilot segment. What I said is 100% true. DEI fosters unhealthy suspicions and promotes skin color over excellence. We won't stop telling the truth regardless of how much they call us racist." It's funny how he can't not tell on himself, because he says DEI fosters unhealthy suspicions of black people in particular, when in fact, he is the one who's suspicious. Nobody else is saying that they're suspicious of black pilots and black people in general because of DEI. He's saying that. He's the one making the connection between black people and them being inherently less qualified because of DEI. It's funny. He has these thoughts that he assumes everyone else is having, but it's just him. Now, to be clear, it's not just his comments about black pilots that fosters suspicion, if you will, that Charlie Kirk may or may not be a racist. I'll let you be the judge of that. It's his belief that black people shouldn't have civil rights as well. I think that's probably even more racist than what he says about black pilots. Because as Wired reports, quote, "Kirk argues that the Civil Rights Act, which bars discrimination on the basis of race, ushered in a permanent DEI-type bureaucracy referring to diversity, equity, and inclusion." See, civil rights are bad because that's DEI too. In other words, you can literally oppose equal rights for black Americans, but so long as you play the DEI card, nobody gets to call you racist, apparently.
This is just a bunch of complete and utter cap. If you're against civil rights, you most likely are an ism. Like, stop. Just stop.
Are we good? Like, dude, Charlie Kirk, how long? You know, I'm going to give it a year, and Charlie Kirk's going to be saying that the end of slavery ushered in a DEI.
Again, like, I don't get it. This guy's 2 weeks older than me. What happened to him compared to me? I don't get it.
Money.
That's the rules.
What?
Money. That's what happened to him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, so he's grifting then.
But not everyone is falling for this, thankfully. In fact, black conservatives actually called out Charlie Kirk specifically because of his attacks on MLK Jr., which we did not get to yet.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to pretend to like him, remember? Don't you remember that?
Video, but if you missed it, here's what he said. Wired continues, in 2015, Kirk called MLK Jr. a hero. In 2022, MLK was a civil rights icon. But in December of 2023, speaking before a group of students and teachers at America Fest, a political convention organized by Turning Point USA, Kirk struck a different tone. Quote, "MLK was awful," Kirk said. "He's not a good person. He said one good thing he actually didn't believe." Interesting. Now, in the same episode where he came out as a racist during his screed about black pilots, he addressed criticisms that he received from black conservatives over those comments about MLK Jr. So he is going to respond, and he's going to dictate not only what black role models black Americans should be allowed to have, but also basically tell the people who criticized him, who are black conservatives, by the way, so you think they're allies, he's basically going to tell them to fuck off. Let's watch.
Frederick Douglass, Ben Carson, Thomas Sowell, and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King.
Other than one of them, the rest of them, no, they suck.
Period. There's so much more here, but I just want to kind of just read some of this here. And one of my favorite, I mean, I chuckle at this. This guy, Armstrong Williams, who I like, and he's a friend. He could have called me or emailed me, but he's afraid to call me or email me because I wouldn't put up with it. So instead, he just writes the article and then hides behind it. Quote, "Kirk's assault on Dr. King is as farcical." Is that how you say it?
Farcical.
Yeah. Not a word I use. As would a middle school student's critique of Albert Einstein's theories, as ludicrous as Pontius Pilate's declaiming against Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Oh, so questioning MLK is challenging the laws of physics and Jesus Christ.
What's great is it actually supports what we said, which is he's become a Christ-like figure in America. We pick dangerous fights.
It's so funny. It's like people say, "Oh no, he's not a Christ-like figure." By the way, going after him, you might as well attack Jesus. Like, whoa, which is it? And mind you, not a single one of these articles by this other guy I've never heard of, Delano Squires. The Blaze attacked me. I don't know why the Blaze is attacking me. Would love an explanation for that. Why they're writing articles against us. Anyway, it really ticks me off. And so, he writes this: Martin Luther King versus Charlie Kirk and the irreverent right. And this is he says, quote, conservatives claim that the history of slavery in America should not be judged by today's moral standards. This guy's such a moron.
This is a dumb argument.
This is really dumb. Yet they blame Dr. King, quote, for ideas they find objectionable today more than 50 years after he was assassinated. Wait a second.
So black conservatives are basically saying, hey man, maybe pump the brakes on the racism. You're getting a little bit too explicit. And he basically says, shut the fuck up. It's not racist because I say so.
He wants to be a racist claim.
I'm really relieved that he chose to play the DEI card. Otherwise, I would be forced to assume that maybe he's a little bit racist.
Already. You want to wear it.
On a serious note, Charlie Kirk isn't some random dickhead with a podcast. He actually has a lot of power and is an influence peddler within the Republican Party. And as Patriot Takes points out, none of the prominent conservatives associated with him have condemned him. But not all hope is lost, because I did find at least one example of a conservative condemning his blatant racism. Christopher Tremogli of the Washington Examiner, a conservative publication, by the way, actually denounced him and called out the conservatives who defended him, not by name, of course, but just kind of like referenced people who defended him. And he said that this line of thinking is wrong and it's not going to win over anybody with that argument, even though, like Kirk, he also is against DEI. So, I mean, there's one, I guess, but for the most part, conservatives agree with this. We can't pretend as if hysteria over DEI is just the Charlie Kirk thing. He might be the most blatant in his racism, but it's not just Charlie Kirk. As Amisha Clark of the Daily Beast explains, Elon Musk, the CEO of a car company whose vehicles have a tendency to catch fire, tweeted, "It will take an airplane crashing and killing hundreds of people for them to change this crazy policy of DIE. The obvious innuendo is that black people are responsible for Boeing's failures." Musk has also referred to DEI as, quote, just another word for racism. And I bet the left is going to call Elon Musk racist too for saying that. Everyone's racist according to the left.
Musgrave.
This is an Orwellian trick that they're doing. They're saying policies to address racism are actually racist. Also, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. But Amisha is going to explain that the right's new found
opposite way in every way.
Hatred of DEI is literally just racism, period. She continues, as of this week, Florida's 28 public colleges are prohibited from using government funds for diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And because everything's bigger in the Lone Star State, Texas boasts 30 new anti-DEI laws. 13 states' attorneys general signed a public letter in July 2023 after the fall of affirmative action in college admissions. The letter had nothing to do with college admissions, but the Republican AGs used the Supreme Court decision as a platform to directly voice their collective opposition to DEI in the workforce. These efforts don't even scratch the surface of the anti-DEI architect's ultimate goal, stratifying the American workforce and reducing access to the C-suite, STEM careers, small businesses, and opportunities previously afforded almost solely to white men. America is more diverse today than it has ever been, and the fix is in to ensure diversity isn't reflected in high-paying jobs, the highest levels of government, or leadership in America's top educational institutions. To be black in America is to live in a constant threat of attack on your civil rights and humanity, the questioning of your abilities, and a belief that you are unworthy solely because of the color of your skin. Regardless of how often Nikki Haley says America isn't a racist country, the red, white, and blue time and again finds itself painfully erecting barriers to black achievement, health access, and any marker of equity. And she is absolutely correct. DEI is an attempt to unrig the economy.
Does this sort of racism stop being systemic and start being existential?
Not rig it. And the goal here is to disentangle white supremacy from our institutions. And opposition to that is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to uphold the white supremacist status quo that benefits them and exclusively them. And if they were alive in the 1950s, I genuinely believe that they would be defending Jim Crow. If they were alive in the 1800s, I think they would actually be defending slavery. That's who these people are. When people tell you who they are, we should believe them. So make no mistake about it. These conservatives are racist. Full stop. There's no debate about that. What Charlie Kirk said is quintessential racism, and anyone who tries to pretend as if that's not the case, they're also racist too.
Or stupid. So yeah, what do you gotta say about that? What do you gotta say about that? Kirk being outed, and yeah, I don't want to hear no crap for anyone. He's racist. End of discussion.
He's basically all but a Nazi. Like, the only thing he needs to do now is just be caught Sieg-heiling, and we can officially say, yes, he's a Nazi.
Yep, and I will be expecting that next time we cover him. So yeah, guys, he's a clown, always will be a clown, and I will still never understand what happened to him. I'm 2 weeks younger than him. What happened to him compared to me? I will never get it. It's so sad.
Yeah.
All right, now, on to the next topic.
And that is... Conservatives declare jihad on Taylor Swift.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, we covered this like a month ago about Kirk's misogynistic meltdown on Taylor Swift. And of course, the right and some of them, I know I jokingly called conservatives declared war on Taylor Swift, but no, a lot of them actually have said that. Like, they really are treating it like a war against her. And why? Yeah. Because once again, she's dating Travis Kelce. Yep. And because she's a liberal. So, of course, this all comes back to, once again, her dating Travis Kelce, who is the tight end for the Chiefs, who, in 2 days, will be playing in the Super Bowl. And because of that, there is a massive conspiracy.
He's also black, though. Black, isn't he?
No, Travis is white.
No. Oh, okay. I thought, it must be someone else someone's seen around Swift at some point. I mistook him for.
But yeah, now they have this ridiculous conspiracy theory that Biden is going to rig the Super Bowl so that the Chiefs would win, so that after he wins his MVP or gets the Lombardi and whatever, Kelce will propose to Swift, they'll accept and all that, and then on the ring, however, it'll say, no, they'll give an endorsement to vote for Biden. It's so ridiculous.
That is how insane this shit is.
Yeah, I can't wait in 2 days and we'll see how true that is. This is like so silly. Oh my god, they're getting like ridiculously conspiratorial. It just gets funnier and funnier because these guys just can't accept the fact that she's popular, she's in a relationship with an NFL player, and they're going full SJW about it. How about you guys go fuck off and let me enjoy NFL in peace? I don't like the NFL like promoting Taylor Swift like literally every second, like I said before, which is why, thank God, one more game with the Chiefs and it's over till August. I'll have to hear about again for several months. I cannot wait. But you guys are absolutely ridiculous and all that. Do I need to remind you all about Kirk's misogynistic meltdown last time we covered about this? You guys are insane with her. Absolutely insane. So let's see them go full Alex Jones over the Super Bowl.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that rigged an election. Do you understand that?
Taylor Swift's the most famous person on earth. Now she's at every NFL game.
She's not. She would only be going to Chiefs games because that's where Travis Kelce is. And hell, she didn't even go to all the Chiefs games, I don't think, either this year. So I don't want to hear that crap either.
With her boyfriend, who's backed by Bud Light and Pfizer.
I don't know. Of course, you guys are anti-vax, so you're still crying about Pfizer and the COVID vaccines. All right. Why are you guys even bringing up COVID vaccine? Why even bring up COVID? So I don't even know. We brought this up a few months ago. What is it with you guys bringing up COVID all of a sudden? COVID hasn't even been a thing like in 2 years now. It's pretty much not even. It's an endemic now.
It's because Trump's fear-mongering about the Democrats putting us into a lockdown just before the election again.
Oh my God! You guys need to shut up already. You got everything you want. Yep. And then, of course, Bud Light. You do know Bud Light is the official beer of the NFL, right? So it's not him that would promote it. It's the NFL that promotes it. So, Cope, Steve, Mauld.
Yeah, because when she posted the link to the vote.org, it's like hundreds of thousands of young Taylor Swift fans all of a sudden registered to vote. I wonder who got to her from the White House or from wherever. Who makes that initial handshake?
Some people think this is a massive psyop.
Major League Sports, in and of itself, is nothing but a psyop.
Sure seems planned. Sure seems like something that is like concocted in order to.
I'm so glad I'm going to enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday, and you
the
are
fame
just
of
going
these
to
two
rage and
people.
cry about nothing.
Get them to the Super Bowl, the largest screens on Earth.
It'll be like, for
Get
like
maybe a
hours.
Get maybe like a proposal after they get his mic.
Years.
This is what I think is going to happen. There's going to be like some type of proposal at the.
And even if there was a proposal, aren't you guys supposed to be pro that since you're pro family values and all that? Hey, maybe she'll maybe she'll have a kid soon. Since after all, remember Kirk said, does she have any eggs left?
They don't care. They don't
Super
care.
Bowl.
They won't mention that.
Oh, that's right, because when liberals want to be married and all that, I don't even know if even Kelsey's even liberal, but Taylor is, and they're still going to rage about it.
Is rigged for the Chiefs.
Of course.
Oh yeah, and oh my God, oh man, I'm going to be triggering a lot of people in the NFL community when I say this. The NFL is not rigged. Even my dad believes this crap, for crying out loud. Shit just happens. Like, bad call here, help this team. Bad call here, help this team. They're just bad calls. There's nothing like conspiratorial about it. It's just bad calls that just happen, or maybe teams are just that good that they win. Like, it's not a conspiracy that the NFL is trying to on purpose rig the games to be a certain outcome. Like, stop.
And then the two of these people reach like crazy levels of absolute fame, and then they take all that fame that is.
Taylor's already famous even before all this. She doesn't get any benefit from this. She doesn't get any benefit from this whatsoever. The only one that benefits is the NFL.
Been given to them by the rotted corporate press, media, entertainment industry that explicitly backs Democrats, and then they use that in order to try and save Joe Biden.
Just imagine.
Oh my God. Even if Taylor did endorse Biden, which she did last time, it's not going to have an impact on the election. I'm telling you, idiots, it's not going to have any impact. If Biden wins, it's going to be because Trump fucked up so badly. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. For a moment, if people were as dedicated to Jesus as they are professional sports.
One time I looked back fairly recently, the gap's about 4 points between Trump and Biden. Hailey was up by something like 10.
Yeah, which we're going to be getting to later, why all you Trumpsters should support Hailey instead, while you have a chance.
Well, it turns out right-wingers have figured out Joe Biden's master plan to win re-election, and I think that this is foolproof. So let me walk you through it. Step number 1, turn Taylor Swift into the world's biggest celebrity.
Even though that was a case like 10 plus years beforehand, but okay, whatever.
Check. She wasn't very popular before he became president, so he did that. Then he got her to date a specific football player, one who in particular has done ad campaigns with Bud Light and Pfizer. That's really important. And then once you've gotten her to do that, you then
Oh God, don't let them know about the State Farm commercial. I guess they're going to have a jihad against them next. And Mahomes.
The NFL for him to increase the status of both of them, to turn them into a power couple. And now we're at the point where the stage is set. So all that's left is to rig the Super Bowl for her boyfriend, so that way the camera can see him drop down on one knee after his huge victory and propose to her in a magical moment. And after she says yes, he then puts the ring on her finger, and then the camera zooms in and you see Biden 2024 engraved on the ring, and then the crowd goes wild. They start chanting, Biden, Biden, and the entire country is captivated by that magical moment, including Donald Trump.
I think people are if that actually did happen, I think Americans would be happy regardless if they said vote for Biden or not. Because people like that stuff so much.
They'd be cheering about they'd be all cheering for Taylor Swift, or if they're big NFL fans, to a partner. Who they might be forgetting because I don't watch NFL.
Then sees that and drops.
Let's leave that stuff to me then. That's my wheelhouse here.
Out of the presidential race immediately and endorses Joe Biden after getting caught up in the moment, just like all of us. That is exactly how it's going to play out.
And like I said before, guys, I don't even know what Travis Kelce's political beliefs are. A lot of NFL players don't even talk about this stuff. So, like, you're just assuming he's a liberal because he's dating Taylor Swift.
And the conservative geniuses who cracked the code see Biden's plan coming to fruition before our very eyes. So Tori Auden of the New Republic explains, the Chiefs defeated the Baltimore Ravens Sunday night.
Good job,
and
Ravens,
will go
choking
on to
it too.
defend their Super Bowl champions title. Much of the buzz around the recent Chiefs
Good
games,
job making
though,
my dad
is due
rage.
to the presence of music superstar Swift, who is dating the Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. The far right is convinced.
And also, Mike, it's Kelsey. Kelsey. Get your NFL names right. Don't become flight on us.
That the Super Bowl will be rigged in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs so that Taylor Swift can get more attention before she endorses another competition rigger, President Joe Biden. I just think it's so funny that, like, as Biden's brain is melting out of his ears, they think that he's able to pull off this massive conspiracy theory, but they unironically believe that. They think, on one hand, well, you know, he very clearly isn't mentally competent, but on the other hand, he's competent enough to do all of this.
Yeah, like you guys see how ridiculous it sounds. How is it that Biden's brain dead, but is somehow able to pull this off? If he's brain dead, he can't do it. Like, he just can't. And also, the reality is, he's not doing any of this. If you lose, you suck. That's the end of it. Just like if Biden loses, it's because he sucked. That's the end of it.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? Now, let me show you what I mean by that. So,
if he loses, it's because he's a genocide-supporting terrorist.
Response to Pizzagate conspiracy theorist Jack Posobiec, failed presidential
Jack Probiotic.
Oh, and by the way, this guy that Mike just mentioned, he was on the thing with Charlie Kirk. He's on his show, like a co-host.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Jack Probiotic.
That Vivek Ramaswamy writes, quote, I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month, and I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially, culturally propped up couple this fall. Just some wild speculation over here. Let's see how it ages over the next 8 months. And once he spoke it into the universe, a lot of other conservatives began to see it as well, and they've convinced themselves that the Super Bowl isn't just being rigged, but it's specifically rigged because of Joe Biden. It's rigged at his behest.
It's not going to be rigged because of that either, you
Tim Pool, for example, writes, how old were you when you learned the NFL was fake?
Tim Pool, can you stop spewing this
Jack
crap?
Lombardi chimes in saying, I have never been more convinced
he's an idiot.
that the Super Bowl is rigged with all the unneeded and unwanted Taylor coverage at the games. Casey's journey to the Super Bowl, totally scripted. Next, Travis and Taylor together at the Super Bowl appearing happy and in love. Then Casey wins, and then later announcing their support for Biden. Coincidental? Nope. Bought and paid for couple. Shakes my head. Bookmark this post. Oh, I will. Sure. I absolutely will. Joe Manarino chimed in with a viral tweet also claiming that the NFL is rigged and that they made sure that Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team won and calls her a true problem for our country, which is a bit melodramatic, but nonetheless, Nick Sorter chimes in saying, I haven't given a crap about the NFL since all their Black Lives Matter BS, but now I'm a 49ers fan specifically to see Taylor Swift and that Pfizer guy go down and just...
I'm sure the vast majority of Americans outside of the NFC West, like Miami, want the 49ers to win pretty much because the Chiefs are like the Patriots now. No one wants them to win because they've been to the Super Bowl 4 out of the last like 5 or 6 years or so. No one wants them to win now. It's amazing.
It's so funny. Like him with the Band-Aid and the Pfizer logo. For some reason, that shit is so funny to me. But unfortunately for you, it's rigged. So I guess that his team's victory is already predetermined. Sorry, I don't make the rules. But conservative flat earther Candace Owens also chimed in.
Wait, oh my God. Is Candace Owens seriously a flat earther?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Oh my God.
With a difference, and reminded everyone how she accused Taylor Swift of being, quote, demonic, evil, and Luciferian, adding, of course Satan wants to use her now to elect Joe back into the White House to destroy what's left of America. Well, of course, that's obvious, idiot. Now,
yeah, Satan wants it. Yeah, sure.
There's a couple of things that is fueling their hysteria over Taylor Swift. Obviously, she's one of the biggest stars in the world, and also she's a liberal with a significant amount of political influence. She was able to get tens of thousands of her fans to register to vote with a single Instagram post, and conservatives view that as a threat to their electoral ambitions.
And it is a threat, and
they
you
should.
Can conceive about
now, second of all, there's this assumption that the media is fixated on her specifically because she's a liberal. So if you promote Taylor Swift, you're in effect promoting liberalism as well. So you kind of kill...
Not necessarily. You can like her stuff and not even be liberal.
two birds with one stone, I guess. But on top of that, a recent New York Times article reports about how Biden aides view Taylor Swift as the endorsement of their wildest dreams, which has led to speculation among conservatives that there's a level of coordination between Taylor Swift and the White House. Now, in reality, I mean, America has always been obsessed with celebrities and who they date. And this is, like, I remember this since I was a kid. So this is really nothing new. And politicians have always tried to court any and all celebrity endorsements that they get. Even if they don't know the celebrity, just knowing that somebody is famous is important to them because clearly they want votes. Case in point.
One of the big superstars of the world, Little Pimp. There he is. How is it going? Do you want to come up and say something? Do you want to? Come on. Little Pump. Come on. Come on up here. Come on up here.
MAGA 2020. Don't forget that. Don't forget that.
Why do I get a feeling you don't know how to count?
Do not vote for Sleepy Joe.
I mean, Trump was genuinely excited to win the coveted Lil Pump endorsement, or as he called him, Little Pimp, which is amazing. But I mean, he hasn't been relevant since 2017 when Gucci Gang came out. But Trump was like, oh, he was famous at least a couple of years ago. I want that endorsement too. Come up on stage, even though none of the people here know about you or have ever heard about you. But I mean, politicians know the value of celebrity endorsements, particularly during election years. So I just feel like it's so absurd to think that there's like this conspiracy surrounding Biden trying to get the endorsement of Taylor Swift. Of course, he's trying to get her endorsement. But I mean, there were no claims of Lil Pump being a psyop from liberals when he endorsed Trump. So the question is, why is it suddenly suspicious when Biden tries to court a celebrity endorsement?
Because it's Biden.
And I think the answer...
When Trump does it, it's A-okay, but when anyone else does who's liberal, then it's not. That's the difference.
Is because Biden is somebody who they think is already a bad person who rigged the election. So, I mean, if he could rig the election, if he's savvy enough to do that, he's also savvy enough to coordinate this massive PSYOP campaign with the NFL for a Taylor Swift endorsement. And maybe, you know, if he rigs the Super Bowl for her boyfriend in particular, then she'll be like, well, since you did this to me, Biden, I have to pay it forward and endorse you. So thank you for rigging it for my boyfriend who does ads for Pfizer. The situation is just amazing to me. Now, the reality is, like Trump, Biden is also clueless about celebrities, and I would guarantee you he's probably never heard of Taylor Swift. And I say this because when he tried to
I didn't even hear about all the stuff the last few months at her being at the games. What about you? Because, like I said,
I've vaguely seen some of her songs, but so I knew who she was, but that's it.
I didn't because I don't pay attention to this stuff.
In a line that was probably scripted by one of his aides, he literally confused her with Britney Spears.
Now, just to get here, Liberty Bell had to beat.
I mean, that is fine for you. He's a brain dead old man.
Had to work hard to show patience. And be willing to travel over 1,000 miles.
Versus what other brain dead
say even this harder than getting a ticket to
ableism speaking, though.
It's not ableist. Well, I mean, how ableist is it when they're both being puppeted by the dark side of the force?
So close, but yet so far. But that guy, according to conservatives, is surely going to rig the entire NFL for an endorsement that he doesn't even need because they think he's just going to rig the election anyway.
And he doesn't even need the power. He's going to get the endorsement no matter what.
Because if they actually believed Biden has as much power as they say he does, why even vote? Because it doesn't matter. He's just going to rig the election. And if he's going to rig the election, what's the point in rigging the NFL for an endorsement, right? They make so many logical leaps while not stopping to think, what's the motive here? Why do this if he's already doing that? But I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, so there's not much thought put into it. Only wild speculation and a little bit of delusion, or a lot of delusion, I should say. But, you know, we've reached a stage in American politics where conservatives are so batshit crazy that Fox News has somehow become the voice of reason in a sense. Now, I say this because Brian Kilmeade, of all people, I think one of the dumbest people on Fox News, he responded to Vivek Ramaswamy's idea that Biden rigged the NFL, and he shut it down. Okay, good for you, Brian Kilmeade. Now, he still had some choice words for Taylor Swift, but nonetheless, he shot down this stupid idea that the NFL has been rigged by Biden for Taylor Swift.
Okay, number one, if there's going to be a fix at the Super Bowl, it'll be the biggest scandal in the history of the world.
Yes.
It's the biggest game the whole world watches now. Nobody told the 49ers because I'm pretty sure they play tackle football pretty well too. So it's a crazy statement. Their special strategy is to get young people to vote, is to have her support him. Now, she evidently tweeted out support for him, and I saw the full screen this morning. I don't remember that. 2018, she went for the candidate, Phil Bredesen, against Marsha Blackburn. Marsha Blackburn felt that. She does have power. But it would be the single dumbest thing a mega superstar could ever do. Why would you tell half the country that you don't agree with them in this highly polarized time? You stay out of it.
The vast majority of her audience are going to be left wing, so she wouldn't be on their side.
Probably help.
Yeah.
So how much is difficult to say?
Like, her endorsement Biden is not going to have any negative impact on her whatsoever.
Hey, listen, I'm Taylor Swift. I like this guy. He happens to play football for a living. I'm on the stage a lot, selling out. That's it. I think it would be the craziest thing ever for her to do it. And Joe Biden's not worth it. I mean, my goodness. If you need Taylor Swift to get you another 4 years, that's how bad your first 4 years have been.
4 years
you're done,
ago.
You're finished, you're through.
So Brian Kilmeade threw cold water on this insane conspiracy theory, and I think that that's really important. Kudos to him for doing that. I mean, this conspiracy theory isn't as damaging to the country as, say, a conspiracy about the election being stolen, but nonetheless, I think that the less we get people to think in delusional terms, the better off we all are as a country. But I mean, you can still acknowledge Taylor Swift's political influence and be against that because, she hurt your team, while not jumping to hysterical conclusions about her and this scheme between Biden and maybe she's working with the deep state. But I mean, Brian Kilmeade is wrong about one thing. He does say that it's a mistake for Taylor Swift to endorse Biden. And that makes sense in theory. Like, usually you don't want to split your fans in half and, let them know that you don't agree with them politically if she does have conservative fans, which I'm assuming that she does. But as Brian Tyler Cohen points out, she endorsed Biden in 2020 and then proceeded to host the highest grossing concert tour of all time. So she's one of these celebrities that's just too big to cancel. I mean, she's not the only one with that level of fame and power. Elon Musk chums it up with white supremacists on the regular, yet he still gets government handouts for his companies. So some people are just too big and too wealthy, and that makes them untouchable in a sense. And anything that they do, it doesn't really matter because they're too big to fail, for lack of a better word. But going back to Fox News being the voice of reason, Judge Jeanine Pirro, of all people, made a sound point, I can't believe I'm saying that, about the political limitations of Taylor Swift's political influence, and she kind of implied that maybe conservatives are being a bit hysterical about Taylor Swift without actually saying that. But nonetheless, let's watch.
Biden is assuming that if she gets involved in this election, and she did support Joe Biden in 2020, so it's not unusual for her to get involved in politics. And you're right with the Marsha Blackburn. Marsha Blackburn kicked that guy's butt. But again, that's Tennessee. And, but with the young vote, a new poll shows that 18% of voters are more likely to back a Taylor Swift endorsed candidate. But listen to this. 17% are less likely to vote for someone she chooses. So they cancel each other out. Yeah. So don't get involved. Don't get involved in politics. We don't want to see you there. But Joe Biden's in the hole with young people. If she wants to endorse
Biden or not. And also, like I said before, guys, it's not going to make that big of a deal if she did endorse Biden. It's not going to be like, oh my God, she endorsed Biden. Biden's going to win all 50 states or whatever. No, it's not. It has pretty much no impact, I think, whatsoever.
He thinks Taylor can get him out of that hole.
And that's why you're freaking out. It's stupid.
I never thought that I would say this, but I agree with Judge Jeanine Pirro. What world we're living in. It's insulting to the intelligence of young people to assume that they care more about Taylor Swift's endorsement than, say, ending a genocide in Gaza. But she is right that Taylor Swift triggers both positive and negative partisan responses. However, what Pirro doesn't acknowledge is the negative partisanship she triggers can be offset by her registering new voters, which she is more than capable of doing and has demonstrated that she has been able to do. Now, that right there is why conservatives hate Taylor Swift the most. She's become so big, so famous, that she is a literal threat to the Republican Party's power. But let's be honest.
Stay mad.
She's just a human being. She's not all powerful, nor do I think she has the power to single-handedly change the outcome of elections. But let's keep it real. Conservatives don't like her specifically because She's a liberal. If she told everyone to vote for Donald Trump, they would love her. And all of this, concern trolling about people worshiping celebrities would go out the window if she tells them what they want to hear. But to be fair, I think liberals would probably have the same response to her if she were conservative that Republicans have to her now, because we do live in a highly polarized political climate. But we know that
I wouldn't be making all these conspiracy theories about, the NFL is rigged to help Swift and all that. And like, I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. I'm going to enjoy it. And all of you Karens can mold if you don't like hearing that.
Would love her if she were conservative, because their criticisms of her are so incredibly ironic. And you'll see what I mean when you watch this next clip by Greg Kelly of Newsmax.
They're elevating her to an idol. Idolatry. This is a little bit what idolatry.
Idol 5 years ago.
Yeah, she's been famous for years. More than 10 years, for cry out loud. Like, it's not like out of nowhere, you idiot.
It looks like, and you're not supposed to do that. In fact, if you look it up in the Bible, it's a sin. So,
really? Christian fundamentalists. How nice to see you all.
Idolatry is a sin, according to Trump supporter Greg Kelly of Newsmax, the Trump supporting network, if not the Trump supporting news network. I mean, the irony just went right over his head, but he goes on to conspiratorialize about the potential PSYOP campaign that she's allegedly involved with to boost Biden. And look at one of the ways that he tries to make fun of her.
I need to be on the right side of history, and if he doesn't win, then at least I tried.
So,
that is literally what Trump does all the time. There are memes about his weird hand gestures, but all of a sudden, weird hand gestures bothers Greg Kelly. I mean, what a hack. But on the subject of Donald Trump, he's also pissed off about Taylor Swift, albeit for a completely different reason. Rolling Stone reports, behind the scenes, Trump has reacted to the possibility of Biden and Swift teaming up against him this year, not with alarm, but with an instant projection of ego. In recent weeks, the former president has told people in his orbit that no amount of A-list celebrity endorsements will save Biden. Trump has also privately claimed that he is more popular than Swift and that he has more committed fans than she does. A person close to Trump and another source with knowledge of the matter tell Rolling Stone. Last month, the source close to Trump adds, the ex-president commented to some confidants that it obviously made no sense that he was not named Time Magazine's 2023 Person of the Year, an honor that went to none other than Swift in December.
Because you're not that infamous in 2023? That's what they go by?
Words, he's jealous of her.
And you've been on it before, I think multiple times, so deal with it.
Now, I love the claim that his fans are more committed than hers, because it's probably true since they literally did an insurrection for him, and I doubt that they would do that for her. But he can't deny that even though his fans might be more committed, her fans are way more intelligent, despite the fact that most of them are probably 12 years old on average. But one last thing that I do want to show you is a clip from OAN. And this host is going to use the Taylor Swift hysteria to concoct a new conspiracy theory about all sports, though. So they're broadening it out, but let's watch.
America's pop star celebrity sweetheart joins forces with the top dog in the NFL, playing for the team that's going to the Super Bowl. I mean, let's be real here. This is bread and circuses on steroids. Major League Sports, in and of itself, is nothing but a psyop. Get kids plugged into the cycle of going to public indoctrination camps, playing sports for their school, and going to games.
Yeah,
so then they become obsessed with some grown man who gets paid millions of dollars every year to throw a ball around while...
He's a tight end. He catches the ball, and he blocks for Mahomes, so... Know your football better,
promoting poison death shots and child slave labor.
Poison death shots. Good old anti-vaxxer.
Through various brand deals and endorsements. So sad. Imagine being so brainwashed by sports you actually show up to your team stadium to shovel snow for free so you can watch a bunch of grown men who are overpaid tackle each other. Seriously though, trudging through 3 feet of snow amid a massive blizzard just to watch a game? Yeah, sorry, you couldn't pay me to do that.
You don't even need to pay me. If I lived back in Central Maryland and the Ravens had a blizzard like the Bills and Steelers did a few weeks ago, you bet your ass I'll go out to M&T and shovel out the stadium. And guess what? They'll give me free tickets and I can watch the game too. A double win. Yay! I get to watch the Ravens and live for free. Let's go. And yes, fans will do that. I would do that if I was in that situation. It's just that the Ravens never had a blizzard like that to cause that like the Bills do a lot. So, yeah, people do like that. There's nothing wrong with that. Fans want to see the games that badly. Just because you're not in the NFL doesn't mean I and millions of other Americans aren't. It's the most popular sport in the country. So keep coping.
Just imagine for a moment if people were as dedicated to Jesus as they are professional sports.
Listen,
no, thank you. I'd rather enjoy NFL and the other sports. At least it's not makes you insane. Well, no, there are crazy fans of sports and all that, but at least they're not religious fundamentalists insane.
Somebody who is also not into sports, I would much rather prefer them be
Mike,
dedicated
you're
to
missing
sports
out.
than
NFL
Jesus.
is
I think that'd be a
awesome.
lot less harmful for society overall. But it's just so interesting to me that she thinks sports is a psyop, but somehow religion isn't. I just don't get the way that their brains work. Furthermore, imagine shitting on people simply finding happiness. I mean, like her, I don't get sports, but I'm also
Like I
into
said,
things
Mike,
that
you're
people
missing
don't
out.
get, like video games. But whatever
Video
leads us
games
to
are awesome too.
happiness or find some enjoyment out of our short time on Earth,
Nothing more
I think
awesome than NFL.
that's good.
NFL
Why
one of
shit
the
on
best
people
things.
because they enjoy doing
Violent
something?
hits,
I just don't understand
big
that.
plays,
But it really speaks
huge
to a growing
runs, all the
trend with
scoring,
conservatives.
all the
They're
low-scoring
not only
defensive
becoming
games,
more detached from
awesomeness.
reality, they're also getting more detached from the rest of the country because while they conspiracy monger about Taylor Swift and the NFL, normal Americans seem to be enjoying the NFL just fine.
Like
Media
me!
reports that this was the most watched AFC championship ever with a peak viewership of 64 million people. So they've just become
The only one who did
so
enjoy that
detached
was
from the
Ravens
rest of the
fans,
country,
like my
which I think is
dad.
still
The Ravens
a
choked
consequence
badly.
of them becoming detached from reality. But it's one of the many reasons why they are struggling to find a message that resonates with normal Americans. They've just become too insulated and too...
And you're too radical, as we've said over the last year or so. You're having a meltdown because of the freaking Super Bowl. Like, shut up and let us enjoy the fucking game.
tribalistic and overly conspiratorial.
Which is wild because the NFL is like the more conservative sport in the country when it comes to like the players and fans and all that. And now conservatives are having a meltdown about because a liberal artist is in a relationship with an NFL player. Like, shut up and get over it.
And they're just miserable fucking people, and that's why they're unable to win over Americans. But I mean, as desperate as they are to obtain power, I can guarantee relentlessly attacking and conspiracy mongering about one of the biggest pop stars in the world during an election
And
year
making a big deal of
is
the
not gonna help
biggest
their cause.
sports league in the country. You're messing with two people you don't want to mess with. And you're not going to win on that regard if you mess with my NFL. So yeah, what do you guys say about that? Karen crying about Taylor Swift and harassing the NFL for no reason as always.
Sounds about right.
So yeah, I'm going to enjoy the
Sounds
Super Bowl on
about
Sunday.
right.
Good luck to the Chiefs and 49ers. And then when the Chiefs win and the conspiracy theories that you all think don't happen, I would like you to acknowledge that, but we know you're not.
I never will.
Yep, I expect nothing happening. All right, so now on to the next topic.
That'll be Connecticut's governor cancels medical debt.
A Democratic governor actually being based for once? About time. Maybe Democrats should be more like this guy. As Connecticut's governor actually did a bill recently that canceled medical debt for a whole bunch of Connecticut's population. And this is undeniably good. This is something every single Democratic governor needs to freaking do. No, not just the governors of each state, the entire country. Medical debt should not exist. That's why that's why our healthcare needs to be fully nationalized like the UK.
Leading the charge of becoming the first state in the nation to cancel medical debt for thousands of eligible residents.
Maybe it's $2,000 or so. Paycheck to paycheck, that's a tough load to have to carry. Get that lifted off of your back and
Same goes for student debts
This
too.
is not something they did because they were spending too much money. This is something because they got hit with a medical emergency.
The state will work with a nonprofit that buys up medical debt and then eliminates it at a reduced cost.
Nice.
I'm gonna look up Connecticut's population too.
So apparently good things can still happen in America, which is kind of shocking to me because I was under the impression that those days are long behind us. It's all bad
That's
stuff
how
from here
silly
on
you
out.
are,
We're
Mike.
just circling the drain and nothing good will ever happen in American politics. But something good happened. Not just good, like really, really good. So good that it actually made me feel something. And I think that that feeling is happiness, dare I say joy, which I'm not necessarily sure because I haven't gotten that feeling from American politics in a very long time. But we've got some genuinely good news, folks. Connecticut's Democratic Governor Ned Lamont announced that his state is going to become the first in the nation to cancel medical debt. Awesome. ABC News reports the state plans to erase approximately $1 billion in medical debt this year by leveraging $6.5 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds, it said. Residents whose household income is up to 400% of the federal poverty line for a family of four, that's $124,800 annually.
And to put that in perspective, the median household income in Connecticut is almost $80,000. So this should cover, hopefully, everyone in the state. And I looked up Connecticut's population's 3.6 million. So hopefully we'll get to it.
1% of the American population.
Or whose medical debt equates to 5% or more of their annual income will be eligible under the program, the state said. Some 250,000 residents are anticipated to see their medical debt erased.
So 250,000 people out of a state of 3.6 million.
With this initial $6.5 million investment, the state said. More than 1 in 10 Connecticut residents have medical debt in collections, according to the state. I mean, this is an absolute game changer. It's good policy and it's good politics.
Yeah,
and I hope that other governors now feel pressure to do the same thing as well. Now, they are financing this, as the article stated, with funds from the American Rescue Plan. So Republicans can't fearmonger about a new tax to pay for this or anything like that.
They will.
But the downside is that it is means tested, and I think that universal programs are always preferable to means tested programs. But having said that, though, the eligibility requirements are fairly wide, and residents don't have to do anything to qualify for debt relief as they usually do with means tested programs, because this is automatic. They just get it. It's expected to take effect in June. So if you live in Connecticut and you have medical debt, you should see that erased in June, just like that.
Yeah, my family needs that.
Incredible. Now, this goes without saying, but we still need a single payer healthcare system. We need Medicare for all.
And don't forget too, we need to go even farther than that, like I want. I want full-blown NHS.
Medical debt is no longer a thing in the United States. Medicare for all wouldn't just do away with medical debt. It would save $450 million annually, and most importantly, save 68,000 lives per year, according to a study conducted before the pandemic by researchers at Yale and other universities. But in the absence of a single-payer healthcare system, I think that governors zeroing out medical debt that people acquire through no fault of their own is a massive, massive step in the right direction. And to be fair, it's not the first time that this has been done, because on a smaller scale, New York City Mayor Eric Adams actually did something good, perhaps for the first time ever, and he announced $2 billion in medical debt relief for New Yorkers who qualify earlier this year. And on top of that, last year, Colorado lawmakers passed the law removing medical debt from credit reports. Now, on top of that, local governments have also used funds from the American Rescue Plan to buy and cancel debt for people in large cities like New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and other areas. But I mean, this is clearly the next logical step, where medical debt is just canceled across the board at the state level. This is huge, and it's going to become increasingly necessary as more and more Americans acquire medical debt, because our system isn't changing anytime soon. It's not just going to automatically get better. We actually have to fix it. So ABC News continues, a 2022 analysis of government data by the Kaiser Family Foundation Peterson Health System Tracker estimated that 9% of adults, approximately 23 million people, owed more than $250 in health costs. Those more likely to report significant medical debt included people with a disability, uninsured adults, low-income adults, and Black Americans, the report found. Now, additionally, that KFF Peterson study also points out that Americans with cancer have higher levels of debt than people without cancer. And even though 90% of Americans now have health insurance, medical debt is still a persistent problem in this country. So much so that it's the #1 cause of bankruptcy, according to the Bankruptcy Institute, which isn't necessarily surprising considering the fact that 100 million Americans are saddled with medical debt.
What? Basically, a third of Americans have medical debt,
according to the Texas Tribune.
Unacceptable.
So once and for all, action is finally being taken to address this, and Democrats are doing the humane and popular thing by just giving Americans relief. I mean, think about how disgusting this system is. You can have a medical emergency through no fault of your own, and an ambulance is called for you, and then you're taken to a hospital, and it turns out that hospital that you were taken to is not in your network, which means you now have to foot the bill. Or let's say, best case scenario, you have insurance, you were taken to the correct hospital, but then the procedure that you needed isn't covered by your insurance, or the medication that you needed isn't covered by your insurance. Well, now you have to pay for that as well. I mean, it's so gross
my parents
that
as well,
rather than focusing on getting better if you have cancer, you now likely have to focus on medical debt and worry about that too, because perhaps the medication that you need isn't covered by your insurance. It's such a barbaric system. Like the fact that we've allowed this to continue for
only way it can be any worse is if they literally just went around to poor people and just shot them in the head if they got sick and stole all their money.
And remember, people, this does not happen in any of the other advanced countries of America's standard. We are the exception to this, and we're horrible at it.
So long is astonishing to me. The fact
does
that
not
medical
have that. Haven't anywhere ever. Nope, there's not a thing.
Because you have what Bernie wanted.
Debt is a thing in the first place. Speaks to how awful our for-profit healthcare system is. But this right here is how you address
problems because our governments are refusing to fully fund Medicare. So
like conservatives in the UK trying to defund NHS for decades now.
And we're having problems with our GPs as well. But those are pale compared to the tens of thousands of people that are slaughtered every year by medical not insurance companies.
Boy, these fuckers would be like, oh God, Bernie, please save us. Because if I was in charge, you all wouldn't exist if I had my power.
This in the short term. And other Democratic governors need to do the same exact thing. And Democrats in Congress need to push this as legislation. I mean, imagine if Joe Biden pressured Republicans to support medical debt relief instead of a far-right border bill. Imagine what that would do for him politically. And sure, Republicans aren't going to support it, but make them tell their constituents, make Mike Johnson, a Christian, tell his constituents that he thinks that they should be stuck with medical debt. Force these Republicans to explain to the people who vote for them why they think they should be burdened with medical debt in the richest country on the planet, even though they accumulated that debt through no fault of their own. This is how you play politics. And again, it's not just about politics, because making a difference in people's lives is really important, but you can do both at the same time. It's good politics and good policy. Now, the reason why I bring up Republicans is because Republicans in Connecticut, of course, are against this. But as I said, there's no new tax, and it's also means tested. So how exactly can Republicans possibly formulate any opposition to this without sounding foolish?
People. There you go. We don't like helping people
because it's paying off bad uncollectible debt. So the effect of it is really minuscule, and it's taking $6.5 million that could go towards something else.
Bless his heart. In other words, they have nothing. Well, medical debt isn't that big of a deal, comparatively speaking. So,
sure, buddy,
really could be using that money for something else. That's it. They
had no argument. They have really no argument to counter what the Connecticut government did. As Mike's going to say what I'm about to say in a moment.
Only argument that they have. Now, the question is, what? How would you distribute this money in a different way? Well, he actually alluded to what he would do and had some surprising recommendations. So in a Facebook post, he writes, "The governor may enjoy the headlines he's getting on canceling medical debt, but I have little doubt this policy decision will disappoint people who don't qualify for relief and frustrate organizations, local leaders, and residents as capital conversation continues about meeting core needs such as special education funding, heating assistance for vulnerable residents, or investing in Medicaid rates for all residents." Okay, so pump the brakes. I'm sorry. Is this Republican inadvertently advocating for a universal policy instead of a means-tested policy?
Based?
Not to mention, is he actually making reasonable recommendations that
he actually made a progressive argument?
I mean, listen, you don't have to pick and choose, which is what he wants you to do. You can do all of those things, but he's trying so hard. He's trying to find some way to be against this, but he's kind of backed himself into a corner. And the only option that he has, because he's got to oppose the Democrat no matter what, since he's a Republican, the only option he has is to outflank the Democratic governor who did this from the left. Again, this is the minority leader in the House. See, I don't believe that he actually wants to do those good things. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a Republican in the first place. But what's happening here is the governor, Ned Lamont, did something so fucking overwhelmingly positive and popular that he yanked the Overton window in his state so far to the left that Republicans now have to LARP as progressives to oppose him.
As freaking Bernie has been trying to do for a freaking decade. As FDR did back in the 30s and 40s as president. When you run progressive policies, Republicans can't win. They have to try and pretend to be progressives to have any sort of opposition, as we see right here. And that's why Democrats need to actually be progressive. But they're not. They're not.
That right there is what I call effective leadership.
Sellouts, and they love corporate hate speech.
How about this? A rare East Coast Democrat actually being based for once instead of being Midwest.
Take notes, Joe Biden. Take notes, Democrats in Congress. And most importantly, if you're a Democratic governor,
here.
Copy him. Don't just take notes. Copy his homework.
Be
Do what he did.
Because
I promise you,
and maybe
you
I
will
would
be
actually vote
rewarded
for you.
for it politically. And the best part is you're actually going to make a meaningful difference in the lives of so many people in your state. This is the way right here. Major kudos to Ned Lamont. I have no choice but to stand. This man is a king for what he did. Love it.
You better open up that chest and give us them and bail out our medical debts. So yeah, what do you got to say about this? Based Connecticut governor.
Yes. That's very, very good to see.
Maybe someone, as I said, someone who maybe should consider running in 2028 because they're already eyeballing my vote just from that alone.
Oh, don't worry. Well, don't forget that the 2028 DNC primary is already rigged.
Yep, sure. We already know they're going to try and shove Kamala down our throats as much as possible next time around.
Yep.
All right.
Even though Kamala Anus is only supported by sexists and racists, so she'll get about 4% of the vote.
All right. So now on to the next topic.
Next one on the list is: Dear Republicans, dump Trump and support Hailey.
Now we get to the first non-video of this list. So yeah, guys, with the primaries happening right now, and unfortunately too, I just found out before we started that Marianne Williamson dropped out just today, which is unfortunate since I'm pretty sure there's no other Democratic nominee right now that's challenging Biden, which is unfortunate because he isn't guaranteed the nomination yet. So how about you stay in, try and fight against him until...
Yeah, but remember the DNC rigged the 2022 primary so that Joe Biden wins everything by default. And that's how it's going to be going forward.
But you still should try, peoples. So yeah, Biden pretty much has no challengers. However, Trump still has a challenger. I'm pretty sure he might even have multiple challengers still. But there's only one left that has an actual chance to beat him, or the closest chance to beating him, and that is Nikki Haley. And this is a message, a warning to all of you Trumpsters that are watching right now. You need to listen to us as progressives. If your ultimate goal is to take down Biden and get back the presidency on all that, if that's your ultimate goal, then you need to do this. You need to dump Trump.
Haley.
And yeah, you need to dump Trump and support Haley. Because as we've mentioned for like the last year now, if your ultimate goal is to win, then Trump is your least likely candidate to win. He is doing terrible. He's been not just terrible in terms of like polling and all that, but he has so many things going against him. He was a horrible president, denied the elections, January 6th, and now all these indictments and all that he's still dealing with. Like as we said before, no matter how much problems Biden has to deal with, I still think he's gonna beat Trump right now because Trump is in a worse spot.
I'm just doing checks on a couple of things here.
Yeah, like there's so many things that are against.
The last two having a near dead beat, with Trump only up by 1.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to something that happened to Trump recently too, which is hilarious. But like Trump has so many things against him that I think they override any of the problems Biden had with it. Because like the biggest problem with Biden right now is supporting Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. Even with that, I still think Biden is going to win right now. Because Trump has so many things working against him that people are going to be turned off to support him. Like, he doesn't get any Democratic support, which he got some in 2016. He gets Like, no, he doesn't get the majority of independents, which he's going to need. They're going to go for Biden. He's not even going to get all the Republicans. There's a good chunk of Republicans that will vote for Biden if Trump is nominated. I don't even know if he covers. There was a poll I think Kyle covered that up to 40% of Nikki Haley supporters say if she's not the nominee, they're going to go vote for Biden. That's probably going to be a big margin of people in your party that might not vote for you if you're a nominee.
That's going to 40% of Haley voters, and she's at, I think, about 18%.
That's big.
That's 8%.
Like, you're going to lose
that wipes every swing state out. That makes Texas competitive. That makes Florida lean Biden. Like, that's a wipeout.
Yeah, that is going to have major impacts that might even override any supposed, even supposed Bernie or bust, losses that Biden could potentially have and all that. You need to get these people if you want to have any chance to win. But they're not going to support you if Trump's the nominee. It's like the exact argument that I told Hillary and Biden supporters, no, you got to support Bernie in the primaries and all that because he has the best chance to win. Hillary does not. Biden does not. But and if this isn't enough to convince you, here's the polls. I know we've talked about, don't consider polls and all that, but look at these polls. We've covered them. Haley is heavily favored against Biden in all the elections coming up. She actually has a chance to win against Biden, whereas I don't think Trump has a case. Why? Because Haley, she's going to do all the policies pretty much you guys want, except, she's not going to deny the election if she loses. She's not going to do January 6th and all that. But everything else, she's going to do. She's just not a fervent Trumpster like you are.
That's January 26th to 30th. There's two that have Biden 1% up on Haley. One from Marist College that has Biden up by 1 on Haley. Also the same one that's got a 1 on Trump. But the Heart Research Association Public Opinion Strategies one has Haley up by 9.
Yeah, probably
and
pulling.
The worst I'm seeing here has Trump up by 7. And the most recent, we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
She's gonna get the people that she needs to win to vote for her. Trump will not. She's gonna get. I think she'll probably get more Republicans to vote for her than Trump, for crying out loud. I know you people on the right, just like we do.
3 points for Trump. At the moment.
I know you guys dismiss moderates in your party, just like we on the left dismiss the moderates in the Democratic Party, but I think the moderates in your party have way more of a sway than moderates in the Democratic Party. You guys losing Haley's vote supporters, you're going to really have a hard time winning. Whereas it's not going to affect Biden whatsoever, no matter how many people that support Bernie don't vote for him and all that. It's not going to make a difference. She's going to get the people she needs to win to vote for her. She's going to get a bunch of independents to vote for her and all that. So that's why she has a better chance to win. Biden, if Biden wins, it's going to be because Trump sucks. Most people are not voting for Biden because they agree with him or like him. They're voting because they don't want Trump to win. Now, and we've seen all these polls, 80% of Democrats don't want Biden to run. The vast majority of Americans don't want Trump or Biden to run. They don't want either of them. So if someone else shows up, they're going to probably have a better chance by default. So, my last warning, and this is, I'm saying, I'm giving you advice, Trumpsters, as a progressive who doesn't want you to win whatsoever. I'm giving you the policy that would make you more likely to win. I'm telling you, if you want to win, your ultimate goal is kicking Biden out and taking the presidency and all that, dump Trump, support Haley, and you'll have a much better chance. I'm warning you right now. Do it if you want to win so badly, because you're going to have a much easier time. Now, of course, we know you're not going to do it because you're a bunch of idiots that won't take warning seriously and all that. Trump is a lost cause. You're still going to get the same policies with Haley and a better chance to win, so you take it. Just like I kept telling, like I said before, telling Hillary and Biden supporters, you're still going to get a lot of the policies that Bernie wants, and you have a better chance of winning all that. When you have this opportunity, you just take it and shut up. So, like I said, one more time, warn you all. If you want to win and you're conservative, support Haley. She has the better chance to beat Biden, and that's all that matters. and all that. So yeah, we got to see about this argument.
As I've said, it's one where nobody wants this rematch, but it looks like we're gonna get it, which is the biggest L. Well, you guys are. I'm not.
Lucky for you.
But unfortunately, policies from America will impact Australia. So yeah, that doesn't help.
So yeah, guys.
Yeah, as you've said, Hailey, as I've said multiple times, just this episode, Hailey's up by like an average. I've seen polls where Hailey's been up by up to 10 points against Biden, whereas Trump's got ones where he's only like 1 or 2 up. And gone over about 6 in the last 10.
Yeah, like she's doing better in the polls than Trump is against Biden. So like I told all of Hillary and Biden supporters, Bernie's doing better against Trump, so support him. I'm telling you right now, Hailey's doing better than Trump against Biden in the polls. So support her, and you'll have a much better chance to win, and you'll still get what you want. So do it. I'm warning you as a progressive against my own interest, because I don't want you to win, but if you want to win, you're going to have a better chance of doing it. So do it. All right, so I think we've beaten this topic to death. Now what's next?
Next step is no immunity for Donald Trump.
Based! I didn't get to watch the video yet, but I'm pretty sure this is one of the arguments that was concerned about Trump, is that he wants to be president badly because if he's president, he can't get prosecuted as the president and all that, which is absolutely stupid. He should be prosecuted regardless if he's president or not. He should not be able to get away with it because of that. Absolutely wrong and all that. But if this video is what I think it is, he just took a massive L and maybe can get prosecuted despite what happens in the election. So we're going to find out. So let's see.
All right, y'all. Here we go. So the other day we discussed how the court date for Trump was moved for one of his cases. It was originally supposed to be March 4th, but since his lawyers were trying to block the case on the grounds that he has presidential immunity, the judge had to say, okay, we're not going to be able to do this within this timeline. We have to postpone the case indefinitely until that's resolved, right? Well, literally a day after the case was postponed, the 3-judge panel, which was hearing his presidential immunity claim, they came out and they said, oh, 3-0 against Trump. Of course you don't have full presidential immunity on
Cope and save, you fascist orangutan! Dumbass!
You're breaking. Trump not immune from prosecution. D.C. court rules unanimously. So I'll get into the specifics here in a second, but let's be clear.
Stay mauled and mad!
He's president. At that point in time, the only course of action to take against him for quote-unquote high crimes and misdemeanors is impeachment. And to remove the president, they need to be impeached through the House, but then convicted on that impeachment in the Senate, and then they can be removed from power. That's dealing with a sitting president. What Trump was claiming is, once you are president, even when you no longer are president, you still have immunity that, lasts until you die. That was the claim he was making to try to cover his ass from his 91 criminal charges. Well, again, 3-0, they said, no. That's absolutely absurd. So here in media, they say, former President Donald Trump lost a major court decision on Tuesday as the D.C. Circuit Court unanimously ruled he does not have presidential immunity from prosecution. Politico's Kyle Cheney reported on the 57-page unanimous 3-0 decision, noting the unanimous ruling is a sweeping win for Jack Smith and prosecutors. Any executive immunity that may have protected him while he served as president no longer protects him against prosecution. Trump is facing 91 criminal charges in 4 different cases. In Washington, D.C., is facing charges related to his effort to overturn the 2020 presidential election and stay in power, which resulted in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Trump's legal team argued before the D.C. Appeals Court that former presidents cannot be prosecuted, attempting to throw out the federal election interference case and extend presidential immunity to the post-presidency. Trump's team also claimed that Trump cannot be tried again over events related to January 6th, as he was already impeached and tried in the U.S. Senate, despite impeachment not carrying the weight of a criminal trial. That's actually interesting right there. I guess you could say it's a good thing that Jack Smith did not charge Trump with insurrection specifically or anything directly around January 6th. It's more about the fraudulent elector scheme, which I think makes sense. I think there's more criminality there and stuff you could actually nab Trump on. But, guys, just to be clear here, they, laughed this out of the court. It was a scathing response from them. during the hearing, I don't know if you guys remember this, we covered it on the show. One of the judges was probing Trump's attorney and basically said, okay, so what if, like, the president has SEAL Team 6 go assassinate somebody, go assassinate one of his political opponents, and then, like, resigns immediately after that? Is that, like, are you okay? Do you get away with it? Because there wasn't an impeachment in the House and a conviction on that impeachment in the Senate? And basically they were like, yeah, that's right. You would be immune in that scenario. Trump's attorney was arguing, if you're impeached and convicted on that impeachment, then that opens the door for potential criminal trials afterwards.
Yeah.
That was his take. But, I mean, obviously that's absurd because you could just commit any crime you want and then resign immediately, and then you would have not been impeached, would have not been convicted on that impeachment, and therefore there's this giant loophole where you are literally above the law. You could commit any crime and get away with it because they can't try you criminally because you weren't impeached and convicted on it when you were president. So there's a giant gaping loophole in law and order, in, you know, justice being blind and equality under the law, and they laughed this out of the room. They said that's absurd. No, of course, when you're no longer president, you can be tried for crimes, even crimes committed when you were president. So look, this is a huge deal, and that means that now they'll probably schedule this trial. Hopefully they schedule it for some other date in March. The thing I was worrying about is that the weakest of all the cases was now moved to first place, namely the New York hush money case. That's supposed to be the first trial that happens now. I don't like that. I think that trial should wait. I think that should be pushed back to be the last trial because it is the least consequential with the least amount of a penalty or punishment associated with it. I think without a doubt, at this point, you should have D.C. go first. You should have Jack Smith go first. You know, people have made the case that the Georgia case against Trump is actually the strongest on the merits, but now there's a scandal around Fani Willis appointing somebody to be the Trump prosecutor who she was, like, sleeping with, and so they're sort of undermining the seriousness of it from that perspective. And so I'd rather have Jack Smith, who has all of his ducks in a row, who I think has phenomenal arguments. I read through the whole indictment when it came out. I think he should go first so that, you know, you hit Trump up front with the best thing you got and hopefully take him off the playing field. So I don't know how much this messed with the timeline. It's actually a shame that the court date was moved the other day because a day later, basically, this was a big hit to Trump where they said, no, of course you can be tried on these 91 criminal charges. Of course you can. So this is a big deal. And there was a statement that was released, but it was by Trump's, one of his, like, spokespeople, and so it wasn't the typical all caps, like, how dare you, I'm such a victim, you know, witch hunt, yada yada. So it's no fun. But make no mistake about it, this is a big hit on Trump, and it means that all these cases will proceed. And again, all I have to say is, you better hurry up. You better speed it up, because we need.
He needs to be done before the election, so he can keep him from running, hopefully.
And if we don't, Lord only knows what happens.
Existential that he needs to face the L's.
Trump has a very good chance of being president again. What if he's elected president and then before inauguration he's found guilty and he's supposed to go to prison? What kind of a constitutional crisis are we looking at then? That is absolutely
whoever was his vice president would become president. That shouldn't be that hard to figure out. So yeah, what are you gonna say about that? Trump taking the fattest L so far.
Yes, love it. Now let's keep the L's coming.
Yep. Fucking dumbass. So yeah, fuck Trump and all that. Serves him right. So yeah, on to the next topic.
That'll be Republicans blow up their own deal because they're evil and they want to help Trump because they're satanic.
And they're stupid. Oh my god, this is... Honestly, this also makes us very angry because there's a specific reason why. So of course, this first startup, this has been going on since like September. The first problem with this bill that we're going to be talking about, because it's a long thing to talk about. First, it was about giving aid to Ukraine, which of course we fervently support very much.
Oh,
And of course, Republicans, being the fat fascist cunts that they are are trying to keep that from happening because they want Ukrainians to die and all that.
They want Russia to annex Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
For the record, if they do break through Ukraine, they'll take Moldova within a week, and they'll take Georgia within a month.
So yeah, they have been blocking this.
Moldova doesn't have a standing army, and Georgia's still not 100% after they had South Ossetia stolen from them. So and we know that Putin will use the same
Nazi talking points
for Moldova and Georgia that they used for Ukraine.
So yeah, they've been trying to get this aid for months and months and months, and Republicans have been blocking forever. And what's the excuse they're blocking for it? We want a bill to be even more right-wing on immigration and all that. So, because of that,
we want to be able to set up a machine gun to mow down immigrants as they come by.
So yeah, all this back and forth and all that. So eventually, because Democrats are weak, and also because we're kind of in a bind, because that Ukraine aid to us is very, 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 very important. Very important. They got a compromise bill that would give Ukraine aid, and I think Israel too, which... but it happened. I mean, the bill happened, and what Republicans were going to get for this immigration bill was basically the president would have full control over the border and could even shut it down if they wanted to at pretty much any point. So Republicans have gotten almost every single thing they want. And what do? They don't support it. They're against it. They're literally getting everything they want, and they're still against it. Like, what the hell? And of course, because of that, you're not getting
what it is.
We know why. We're going to begin to later because Mike did a very long video about this. So, because you're a bunch of idiots, you're not getting your far-right immigration policy you want. And of course, Ukraine's not getting any aid, which makes us very, very, very angry. And I mean very angry. So, yeah, very boiling mad about this. So, let's watch this stupid crap. Oh my god, this is so stupid.
Fucking Donald Trump told them to.
Fucking dumbasses.
Well, it seems like we've reached a bizarre point in American politics where the furthest right Republicans and Donald Trump have managed to, I guess, accidentally land on the same side of an issue as leftists like myself, albeit for very, very different reasons, mind you, but nonetheless, they are wanting an outcome that I also support, or at least they're saying that this is the outcome that they want when they're lying in actuality and just playing politics. So let me try to explain. Basically, for months now, Democrats have been wanting funding for Ukraine, and Republicans have been saying no unless you give us something that you would never give us. Funding for the border. We want the wall, and we want more money for ICE. And they thought that they were calling the Democratic Party's bluff because, I mean, during an election year, it's inconceivable that Democrats would ever support something so barbaric and draconian when their own base wouldn't like that. But Democrats, unbeknownst to them, don't actually care about their base, and they said, you know what, fine. We'll give you barbaric immigration crackdowns if you give us funding for Ukraine. And now Republicans are in this awkward position to where they're having to do this tap dance and be like, oh, actually, even though if you look at the bill, it's very brutal, it's still bad. It still allows for crossing. So we have to oppose it on principle, even though we said we would support what you wanted if you support what we wanted. It's very bizarre. But let me go back and give you some more context so you understand why they're coming from this position, aside from stupidity. Basically, Republicans for years now have been pretending that Biden has instituted an open border policy, even though he's arguably as cruel as Trump, minus the family separation policy. Although he did consider detaining families at one point following the end of Title 42, which is a Trump-era policy that he used to justify deportations, but Biden also used that. But I mean, there's been no shortage of cruelty towards immigrants under the Biden administration. Remember the thousands of desperate Haitians that were brutalized by Border Patrol on horseback and subsequently deported? That happened under Joseph Biden. Yeah. But despite this ruthless approach towards immigration, Republicans haven't stopped pretending that he's just opened the borders. It's preposterous to me. So, I mean, you would think that Biden by now would recognize that they will never be appeased, regardless of how Trumpian he gets, because they're just opposed to everything that he does for partisan purposes. It's not about policy for them. But rather than acknowledging this and changing his approach, Biden is instead choosing to double down on his policy of appeasing fascists, which, if you look to history, it's always worked out really well. And I say this because he's supporting a bipartisan immigration bill that is so right-wing that even mainstream media pundits are calling it right-wing. As Sahil Kapoor,
and even a lot of progressives aren't even supported on the squad.
NBC News puts it, as recently as months.
It's fucking policies that you'd see in fucking Nazi Germany.
Months ago, it was unthinkable that President Biden and Democrats would endorse.
The techies say we need to support Donald Trump because Joe Biden is a neo-Nazi worse than Hitler.
An immigration bill like this without any of their priorities on Dreamers and legalization. The politics of this issue have shifted sharply to the right with the asylum system overwhelmed. And to make matters worse, guess what? The bill also includes funding for Israel's genocide in Gaza to the tune of $14 billion, by the way.
How about a better idea? How about we take all the weapons and stuff to Israel and give it all to Ukraine, who deserve it more? That's just
means that Democrats who support this legislation are now to the right of Ronald Reagan on the issues of immigration and Israel-Palestine, which says a lot about the trajectory that we've been on as a country for a while now and should alarm all of us. Now, if you're a liberal who was outraged by Trump's cruel policies, this is going to make you outraged if you are morally consistent. And any Democrat who supports this, they're just xenophobic, racist.
Mike, it's not that simple though, Mike, because the Ukraine aid, that's very, 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 very important. See, you said he didn't even bring this up pretty much after he only brought up like the Ukraine aid like a little bit, and that's it. So to me, I'm not gonna say like you're like idiots like Hassan or like Kyle that say stupid stuff. I'm not gonna say like you're a tanky and all that.
They love
like
piracy,
but like you don't value helping Ukraine as much as I do. So to you, it's very easy to say no to. To me, however, it's not that easy. It's very, very difficult.
Trash. But it's hard for Americans to know what's in it because it's a very long bill. So let me try to break it down for you and explain why this is something that the left is opposed to. As Politico explains, the bill would nearly double funding to ICE and give billions more to CBP. And on top of that, it would use money already allocated towards immigration to construct more walls on the border, i.e. Trump's border
getting
wall.
The wall too,
and on top of that, it would distribute money to states dealing with an influx of migrants, which isn't necessarily bad.
Literally everything
and
you
it
want.
would also allocate $4 billion to citizenship and immigration services to speed up asylum claims, but also toughen asylum requirements and require asylum seekers to show proof that refuge in the U.S. is needed immediately. Otherwise, they get turned away. Now, it would also shut down the border entirely if crossings average 5,000 or exceed 8,500 per day. And this provision has confused a lot of people, but I think that Fox News correspondent Bill Malugin, who actually seems to support this, explains this provision in greater detail in a more fair way. So he writes this on Twitter, quote, "At 7-day rolling average of 5,000 encounters per day, or 8,500 encounters in a single day, DHS is required to shut the border down and turn away anyone who crosses. No new asylum claims will be allowed, and anybody crossing will be removed. Would end the whole idea of
shoot a few in the head.
I made it to U.S. soil, you have to process me. That would be over. Border Patrol would not
and they're like ISIS.
process the illegal crosser, and they would be removed. No asylum claim permitted unless it's made at a port of entry. This does not mean 5,000 are, quote, allowed in before this authority kicks in. Single adults would be detained, families would be released via ATD, alternatives to detention, and asylum cases would be fast-tracked to months rather than years under a new rapid/expedited expulsion system. Those who fail would be quickly removed from the U.S. Those who initially pass would be released with work authorization and 90-day supervision until final asylum claim is determined. The shutdown authority doesn't drop until crossings decrease significantly in the days following the shutdown. The border has seen at least 5,000 encounters almost every single day the last couple of years under Biden. If this bill were signed into law, the border would likely be shut down on the first day it takes effect. So this is basically a conservative saying this bill is surprisingly good, right? He also concedes that there are things in there that people who are more humane towards immigrants would also support. And to be fair, that's true, right? But generally speaking, it is a drastically more punitive approach towards immigration that further criminalizes it overall. Now, it doesn't streamline the citizenship application process at all, nor does it give people already here asylum or a path to citizenship, even if they're already working and paying taxes here. But I mean, that's not to say that it's all negative, because as he said, there were some things that people who are doves on immigration would support. For example, 250,000 visas would be freed up for families of immigrants with H-1B visas, and asylum seekers might get work permits while their applications are being processed. So that's good. But overall, it doesn't even come close to being what the Democratic Party said they wanted, and it doesn't address the root causes. And it handles the issue of immigration in the same way that we handle all other issues in this country, by further criminalizing it and policing it more, which is why civil rights groups like the ACLU have come out against this legislation. It's cruel, it's barbaric, and it's a betrayal for the Democratic Party to support this after saying they're going to do things differently. Now, most people who are here illegally now actually entered legally, and they just overstayed their visas. But since we make legal immigration very difficult, if not impossible in this country, people who already built lives here aren't just going to suddenly up and leave, nor should they. But rather than giving them a chance to become citizens, if they work really hard, this legislation just keeps them in limbo in perpetuity to appease Republicans. Furthermore, there will always be desperate people who have no choice but to cross the border illegally to escape violence, so long as conditions around the globe continues to deteriorate thanks to a number of conditions, including late-stage capitalism. But I mean, maybe if we didn't embolden cartels and gangs with our failed drug war and destabilize so many Latin American countries with decades of meddling, people wouldn't need to leave their countries and come here in the first place. But like all of us, immigrants are human beings just looking for a better life. But politicians have chosen to blame them instead of their own incompetence with regard to this issue. So as far as I'm concerned, Democrats and Republicans have failed on this issue. But here's where we get to the Republican Party having to do mental gymnastics and pretend like they don't support this, who scream about immigration.
A lot of people want to think that there's like 200 million immigrants in the country already.
The loudest.
So like
Republicans, for the most part, have come out and
be like, we should have the right to go around and shoot immigrants in the head.
Against this, and it's not because they suddenly grew hearts and they thought, maybe it's really mean the way we've been treating these human beings. No, they're against it simply because they don't want to give Democrats a win, and they don't think that it's harsh enough. But on top of that, Trump also told them to be against it for the fact that he doesn't want to give Biden a win before an election. So there's a number of reasons why they're against this, but they're all political reasons for the most part. But ironically, nobody even realizes that them not supporting this is actually better for Biden, even if none of them realize it, because the people who voted for Biden, you would imagine, expect him to be more humane towards immigrants. So in a way, fascist Republicans, in rejecting this bill, managed to save Biden from himself, and they inadvertently blocked Israel from getting more genocide money.
I mean, that's good and all that they're not getting aid, but Ukraine not getting aid, that makes us very, very, very angry.
And on top of that, somehow triggered another round of infighting.
And of course, like I mentioned earlier, didn't you notice Mike didn't bring up Ukraine aid getting blocked too?
Yep. No, he didn't.
Mike, why didn't you bring that up? Why did you bring that up? To us, that's a very, 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 very important issue. That should have been brought up.
Yes, especially since Ukraine is protecting Moldova, which is a country that doesn't have a standing army, and Georgia, who will be rolled over pretty quickly, and Taiwan as well, from China and Nepal and all those other countries in the Himalayas that China wants to annex.
Like I keep telling anyone that supports Palestinians.
And don't forget Serbia, who want to blow up Kosovo and probably want to try and annex Montenegro and Albania as well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, with the shit with Ethiopia,
of course, Azerbaijan that wants to eliminate Armenia.
Ethiopia wants to take over parts of Somalia. Remember that happened recently, and of course, happened back in December. Venezuela had a bullshit referendum that would let them lay claims to half of Guyana. Remember?
Yep. Don't forget that, and then we got Kenya. Is it Kenya? I think there's one of the countries around there that wants to invade and annex Eritrea, I think it is.
Oh, my God, I'm so angry.
Then there's, you can go through and there's, about 20 countries that are currently in varying degrees of danger of being taken over by other countries.
But, and like I said before to other people on the left, if you support...
Erdogan wants to reconstruct the Neo-Ottoman Empire as well. There's about 10 countries he wants to take land from.
If you support the Palestinians against Israeli genocide, you should also support Ukrainians against Russian genocide by the same fervor. But so many on the left only talk about Israel, never talk about Ukraine, when they should be both talking about.
Republican Party that got very tense. So even though seeing so many Democrats and Republicans support this kind of killed my soul, not that I was expecting any different, but
you have no idea how very angry I am.
Like this, it made me feel down, but then when you see the outcome and what this bill led to, the shitstorm that ensued,
it
made me happy. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, that's assuming nothing changes and fascists really do choose to reject this legislation. But at this point in time, they're pretty much saying this bill is DOA. In fact, that's literally what they're saying. Speaker Mike Johnson called the bill dead on arrival and said it's even worse than he imagined. Oh, sure it is. But hours earlier, he shared a clip of himself demanding Biden take action.
Oh my God. I don't get you people. I don't get you guys. I know you guys are far-right dipshits. And you also don't compromise, which I also respect. I don't compromise either. But you're getting literally everything you want. The only thing that us on the left would be getting that's even good is just aid to Ukraine. That's it. That's all we be getting. You guys would be getting pretty much everything you want. So when you're getting everything you want and you're not compromising on it, you just take what you get. You're getting everything you want. You take it. If I believed your guys' policies on immigration and this bill came to me, I would take it easily. I'm getting everything I would want, plus aid to Ukraine based, but you guys won't even accept what you're getting, even though it's what you want. Why? Why would you not take what you're getting? It's not like you're not getting. It's not like you're only getting a few things you want. You're getting everything you want, and you still say no. So why would Democrats ever work with you again if you're not going to accept what you get? You're not going to get any more than this. You're getting everything you want. You just fucking take it.
While chastising him for refusing to act. So he is...
You're chastising... Johnson, you're criticizing Biden for not doing something when he's literally trying to get a bill passed that gives you what you want. He's doing what you want, and you're still sitting on him. What the fuck?
Pretending like Biden didn't just do exactly what he wanted Biden to do.
Yeah, that's
and he's
what
in
we
effect
don't like.
Rejecting a policy that he supports to spite Biden and appease Donald Trump.
Because you're
it's
idiots.
So fucking stupid. I mean, imagine if Trump proposed Medicare for all as president and the leftists were like, no, I don't support that. I want people to have health care, but I don't want him to have the political...
Unfortunately, Mike, there are going to be a lot of people on the left, even among progressives, that probably would flip on Trump doing Medicare for all. Even not even necessarily being nonpartisan. A lot of it could probably be we just don't trust and believe because it's you, Trump, that's doing this. Hell, a lot of people on the left wouldn't even trust Biden necessarily if he wanted to do Medicare for all and stuff like that. Which, of course, you should maybe be skeptical of Trump or Biden if they want to support these things because they've never supported whatsoever, but if they say they support him and trying that, you should at least give them a chance until proven otherwise.
Dumb. I don't give a shit who supports the policy that I support. If it's good policy, it's good policy. So be objective and support it. Don't be a hack. But he's not doing that. I mean, Biden is giving him exactly what he wants. Maybe not everything he wants, because sure, they'd like it to be more draconian. But he's getting a huge win here. But he isn't supporting it because it's from Biden. They look so insane right now. But Mike Johnson isn't necessarily representative of the entire party because there are some Republicans who hate immigrants more than they love Trump, like Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and James Lankford. And they're now trying to reason with fellow fascists in their party by convincing them to support this barbaric bullshit. But they have the chance because once it's gone, they're not going to get a chance like this for a while.
This is a humanitarian and security crisis of historic proportions. And Senate Republicans have insisted, not just for months, but for years that this urgent crisis demanded action. 3 months ago, we asked our colleague, Senator Langford, to lead that action. In just the time since Washington Democrats finally decided to join him at the negotiating table, the president's border crisis made history all over again. December saw the highest daily and monthly tallies of illegal border crossings ever on record. And it's now time for Congress to take action on supplemental national security legislation that finally meets those challenges head on.
Oh, I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump, and the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and Congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality is that we have a crisis at the border. The American people are suffering as a result of what's happening at the border. And someone running for president ought to try and get the problem solved, as opposed to saying, "Hey, save that problem. Don't solve it. Let me take credit for solving it later."
So they're taking a principled and consistent position here. They hate immigrants, and as haters of immigrants, this bill is a no-brainer. Sure,
yeah, your guys are literally getting what you want. So you just accept it.
Always be more cruel, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers, right? It's an election year, and to get Democrats to go along with this is insane. So the fact that Republicans don't want to take them up on this offer is astonishing. Now, predictably, the Republicans who are against this haven't even read it. Many of them voiced their opposition to it before they saw the bill. Now, Republican James Langford, who is one of the sponsors of this bill, along with Democrat Chris Murphy, explained that. And here's his response to Mike Johnson's outright rejection of the bill.
If this bill reaches the House, it will be dead on arrival. Your thoughts?
Yeah, unfortunately, he would step out and be able to say that right away before, obviously, he had had a chance to be able to read it as well and to be able to go through it. The key aspect of this, again, is are we as Republicans going to have press conferences and complain the border's bad and then intentionally leave it open? After the worst month in American history in December, now we've got to actually determine, are we going to just complain about things, or are we going to actually address and to change as many things as we can? If we have the shot, and it's amazing to me, if I go back 2 months ago and say we had the shot under a Democrat president to dramatically increase detention beds, deportation flights, lock down the border, to be able to change the asylum laws, to be able to accelerate the process, no one would have believed it. And now no one actually wants to be able to fix it and says, I don't want to even debate it. I don't want to discuss it. We have to decide as Republicans, what are we going to actually do about the border? Leave it open or actually leave it closed?
I think you know the answer to that question, James. But let's not try to pretend like this bill addresses the root causes here, because it doesn't. But even if it did, Republicans don't want to solve the issue of immigration, because if they do, then they lose a scapegoat that is very valuable.
They would make excuses. Like, it wouldn't be like, oh, it's no longer an issue. They're going to make shit up no matter what. Like,
I mean, how do you win elections if you can't pawn all of America's problems off on people with no money and no power? Who would their corporate donors exploit for cheap labor indefinitely if all of a sudden immigrants could get citizenship status or amnesty? They don't want to solve this issue. That's been clear from the start. But as you saw, Langford, who's a sponsor of the bill, said that Johnson vocalized his opposition to it before he even read it, which is to be expected if you know the GOP's MO. Now, other GOP blowhards like Nancy Mace also decided that she was against it before she read it, even though she's pretending that she read it. But watch, because the Fox News host is going to call her out on her lying.
Have you read all 370 pages of this bill?
We are working through it. We have about 50 pages more to go. But from what we can tell, and I'm going to put forth a statement once we finish reading the bill, the measures that we feel are extremely undesirable, that keep our border open, that water down the asylum system, it's not good for the country.
Well, they say exactly
frankly.
the opposite. That's why I'm asking.
I mean, you claim you've read through most of the bill, but the way you're talking about it makes it seem like you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's basically what the Fox News host was saying there. I mean, it's got to be sad for the dozen or so GOP policy wonks in the country who are realizing that Republicans don't actually give a shit about policy. It's all about bluster and huffing and puffing, especially during election years. But the ones that do care right now, they've got to be perplexed with the rejection of this bill, given how draconian it is. It is everything they asked for, but they can't support it because Biden did it. Can't give a Democrat credit on anything. Now, I want to show you.
I don't even think it would even help Biden either. That's the crazy thing. probably wouldn't even help him. Come on.
Fox News trying to sell this to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who isn't important in this conversation because this is a governor of the state of Arkansas, and she's not going to be voting on this because she's not a member of Congress, but for some reason she's weighing in. But she's going to explain why she's against it. But in doing so, she's not just going to look foolish, but she's going to contradict herself within 10 seconds of speaking.
If you enforce all that, it sounds pretty good on its face. And the other thing he said is that it builds more wall. This is a Democratic president who would be signing this if it were to pass out of Congress in its current form. When you spend the money on the wall is to be debated. A lot of that comes in 2025 and beyond. But just on its face, Governor, what do you like about what they have done inside this bill?
Well, I think anything that we're doing that makes it harder for people to just freely walk in. Right now, we have had, under this administration, completely and totally open borders. In the last month alone, they picked up more people from the terrorist watch list than they did the entire 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency. So we have to put harsher and tougher restrictions in place. In the state of Arkansas, we've taken and seized so much fentanyl that it would kill 2.8 million people, and that's just in our state alone. That's almost the entire population of Arkansas. I'm not saying there aren't some good merits of this legislation, but if they're not going to take serious action at the congressional level, then Republican governors are going to continue to step up where the federal government is failing.
That was absolutely incredible. So she said the borders are completely and totally open, yet in the same breath said in the last month alone, they also picked up more people from the terrorist watch list than the entire 4 years of Trump's presidency.
Doesn't that show you that the borders are not open, peoples? And that argument is full of shit? Because that does to me.
Which is bizarre because when you say it like that, it almost makes it seem like the borders aren't completely open and they're doing a lot of apprehensions. It almost makes it seem like Biden is actually more effective than Trump at policing the borders. But please, Sarah, continue to explain to us how the borders are wide open and anyone can just cross at any time. All you have to do to get over the border is walk up to an ICE agent and say, "Hello, sir, I'd like to enter the country illegally, please. All I have are the clothes on my back and this 10-pound bag of cocaine." And the ICE agent would have to say, "Well, you know what? I don't want to let you through, but because of Biden, I have to let everyone in. So come on in, sir. I'll hold the door open for you." I mean, I'm being hyperbolic, but like this is literally what some Americans think. That's what they actually think happens. And it's because of people like Sarah. I almost called her Sarah Palin. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who lied to them constantly. Like, this is why we're all stupid as a country. It's because we're all misinformed by people who are in power. Now, if we're trying to steelman the argument of someone like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, they say that since there's thousands of daily border crossings, well, that is effectively an open border. It's tantamount to an open border. Now, the problem with this argument, aside from it being a lie, is that it presupposes that there wasn't all of these border crossings under Donald Trump. But here's the problem, and the dirty little secret that Republicans don't want to let you know about. There were still thousands of crossings under Trump because we've never tried to actually address the issue in a meaningful way. Now, right-wing ideologues go to great lengths to hide this fact from their gullible audiences. Case in point.
I would also remind folks during the Trump administration, we also had days of more than 4,000 people that were illegally crossing the border under the Trump administration in 2019, and they were struggling because there's gaps and loopholes in the law.
Yeah, but Senator, you know that Donald Trump, we were at a 45-year low in illegal crossings under Donald Trump, and that's just a fact. I've got the evidence to
dramatically fewer.
A 45-year low under Donald Trump in 2019.
We also had days of 3,000, 4,000, 4,500 that were happening.
But nothing like what we've seen right now. Okay, let me just
trying to figure out how to be able to implement it.
Nope. La. I can't hear you, Senator. Crossings were much lower under Donald Trump. Senator, please shut the fuck up. We desperately need people to believe that Trump's cruel policies were a useful deterrent. Otherwise, Americans might begin to question whether or not Trump was as effective as they remember. Or worse, Americans might actually wonder, hey, maybe it seems like being really mean to immigrants doesn't actually accomplish what we want it to accomplish.
Remember the
See the propaganda in action, don't you? But what we're seeing here is a strong divide emerging between two camps within the Republican Party, with two leaders, Mitch McConnell and Mike Johnson, on opposite sides of each side here, which is interesting to me. And this creates real friction to the point where some Senate Republicans want to McCarthy McConnell. I'm not joking about that. Ross Story reports Senate Republican Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving party leader in the history of the U.S. Senate, is facing increased rebellion from the far-right faction of his conference, with calls for his ouster, including from one longtime GOP senator who declared, "We need new leadership now," and a reporter calling it a hint at mutiny. Quote, "Brawl erupts in Senate GOP over border security supplemental," is the AM headline at Punchbowl News, with the news outlet reporting, quote, "The bill's release Sunday night was like pouring gasoline on the fire that is the Senate GOP internal war. Senators and aides publicly and privately questioned whether a majority of the Republican conference would back it, a key metric. There were even calls for an immediate leadership change from some GOP senators and conservative outside groups." Now, the call from leadership change comes from Mike Lee, who tweeted, quote, "This feels like an elaborate practical joke. I cannot understand how any Republican would think this was a good idea or anything other than an unmitigated disaster. We need new leadership now." But he's not alone. Frank Thorpe 5 of NBC News reports Schumer on a call with reporters now on the supplemental aid bill, quote, "I have never worked more closely with Leader McConnell on any piece of legislation as we did on this." Now, Schumer said this to reassure Republicans that it was as conservative as they wanted it to be, but Josh Hawley responded saying, "That's the problem." Now, Ted Cruz also took aim at McConnell indirectly while lying about the bill, tweeting, quote, "The Senate Republican leadership's border bill with the Democrats doesn't solve the problem. It will allow 1.8 million illegal aliens into our country yearly. Joe Biden and the Democrats will use this legislation to say they tried to fix the border and then blame House Republicans for not passing it." And to be clear, he's lying about what the bill does, but to be fair, I don't think that he's wrong when it comes to the politics of it, because if House Republicans say they want to address the border but then turn down legislation that does just that, of course Biden is going to use that against them. But this dynamic here is so interesting to me, because in the House, Mike Johnson is dealing with a faction of fascists who would quickly McCarthy him if he got out of line, so he can't support it if he wants to keep his job. Whereas in the Senate, McConnell is the one who's actually rebelling against his caucus, and as a result, they now are rebelling against him, and they want to McCarthy him. Now, they don't have the power to do to McConnell what Republicans in the House did to McCarthy, but that hasn't stopped them from saying they want to, and it's also led to tensions boiling over. Andrew Desiderio of Punchbowl News reports, quote, "Fireworks at Senate GOP comms directors meeting this AM over border bill. After Senator Langford's team gave presentation on the bill and opened up for cues, Senator Lee's staff was yelling at Langford's staff per multiple people in room. Lee aide eventually left room saying betrayal, and then he adds that the room erupted in laughter after the Lee aide stormed out." So this is an all-out shit show, and Republicans are desperately trying to keep things under wraps so that way it doesn't get as ugly as the McCarthy ouster got. But I mean, it's not working, and things are spilling out into the public, and it doesn't help that a lot of Republicans benefit from intra-party warfare because it makes them look like the most pure Republicans. So they're going to the media, they're puffing out their chest, and they're trying to look tough. But I mean, it's a shit show right now. You have Republicans crossing chamber lines in a sense, meaning that like they're supporting the GOP leader in the Senate when they're in the House, when their boss Mike Johnson is against it. I'm talking about Dan Crenshaw, who said if you are against something without knowing what it is, that is the height of stupidity. And he took some shots at senators who are against this, calling it just befuddling. Not his words, mine, but nonetheless, this is what he says.
I'm extremely disappointed in the very strange maneuvering by many on the right to torpedo a potential border reform bill. If we have a bill that, on net, significantly decreases illegal immigration, and we sabotage that, that is inconsistent with what we told our voters we would do. People will make up whatever reasons they want to. There's a number of them, I'm sure. But it would be a pretty unacceptable dereliction of your duty.
So we are watching a GOP civil war unfold before our very eyes again. And I think that, you know, Republicans in general probably wouldn't support this because they would never go along with something that a Democratic president wants, and they don't want to give him a win, especially during an election year. But regardless, I think that Trump and his strong opposition to this legislation is really what solidifies their position. And I think that Sawyer Hackett put it best, tweeting, "The Republican Party in a nutshell. On Monday, they're going to kill the harshest immigration deal in decades because their nominee wants to run on this issue. On Tuesday, they're going to launch an impeachment inquiry into the DHS secretary for not being harsher on immigration." Exactly. And that is a different story for a different day, but they are hypocrites. That's the TLDR. Now, that's not surprising when it comes to Republicans, but on the other side of the aisle, dumbass Democrats like Chuck Schumer, for example, thinks that he can still reason with Republicans like Johnson. He thinks that he can get through to Johnson. So let's watch this pathetic pitch that he makes to Speaker Johnson on Morning Joe.
Do the right thing. You know what the right thing to do is. You know we need to fix our border. You know that it has to be bipartisan. The bill that you passed didn't get a single Democratic vote in the House or the Senate. How are you going to get anything done? Or do you just want to make a speech? As you admittedly say, the border's in chaos. Do something about it. Don't just politically posture.
Listen, Mike, I believe you're going to do the right thing, okay? We all want to fuck over immigrants. I get that you're mad because this bill doesn't have death camps, but what would Jesus do? He would support this bill where we fuck over immigrants, okay? Do the right thing. Listen, on a serious note, though, it should really genuinely unnerve everyone how quickly Democrats are willing to go full fascist if they think that there's any political gain whatsoever in doing that. It's why there's this saying, cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds, right? Now, I would typically say that this feels like Democrats are giving the finger to their base as they become more Trumpian, and I think that that's true to an extent, but honestly, I don't think that Democratic Party loyalists are against this. I think they would probably support all of Trump's policies so long as it was done by a Democrat and they used flowery rhetoric while doing it. But as
I don't know about that. It would probably be more of what's in it. Like, if it wasn't for like the Ukraine aid, I would definitely vote against this. But the Ukraine aid makes it like it would make it like, and then the Israel aid too. Like, I don't want Israel to get aid. I don't support this bill whatsoever. But that Ukraine aid is like so important to me.
So important.
As little faith as I have at this point in
if it wasn't for that, though, I don't think Democrats would support it all. Like, the squad isn't supporting it pretty much.
Electorate, the ones who are principled, who would be opposed to what Democrats are doing if they knew, are being lied to, which is why so many of them aren't speaking up. For example, just try to put aside in this next clip Schumer's insufferable dick sucking of Republicans and try to focus on how he's trying to sell this to voters. Like, he's speaking to Republicans in this clip, but this is on liberal MSNBC. So in actuality, he's making a pitch to Democratic Party voters. Look at how he disingenuously sells this bill.
If this does pass the Senate, which is you're confident will do.
I'm confident, hopeful is the right word. This is hard. And our Republican senators, we need a bunch of them, are under a lot of pressure from the right-wing Trump part of the party.
So let's do it in two parts. Talk to us a little more about the dynamics in the Senate and why you are hopeful. And then secondly, but even if you get it through the Senate, if he's saying it's dead, what happens next? How do the dynamics change?
Good questions, both. How do we get it through the Senate? Senators have to rise to the occasion. A large number of senators have shown real courage. Senator Langford, I mean, he was chosen by Mitch McConnell to negotiate this because he's very conservative. He's not in the middle of where the Republican senators are. He's somewhat to the right, a very religious, deeply God-fearing man. And he had the courage to do it. McConnell, I mean, maybe I'm not supposed to say something good about McConnell because the right wing will go, ow, 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 which they always do. But he's shown courage because he knows it's the right thing to do. I've had private talks with McConnell. He knows what will happen to America if Putin and Ukraine succeed. And we have some of these right-wing Republicans in the Senate who used to decry Putin and now say don't aid Ukraine. All political and really horribly political because of so much is at stake. So let's assume that our senators in the Senate rise to the occasion, okay? And I hope they will. Everyone's talking to each other. Once they look at the bill, when Langford showed some of the Republicans the bill, they finally saw what was in it and say, oh, this is a real compromise. This isn't to sell out one way or the other. If it passes the Senate, there are a large number of congressmen in the House. First, there's a big group of hawks in the middle, and they care about funding Ukraine. They always have. And the strategy of Johnson is right now do nothing.
Let's see this. Let me go back because it said how much it was going to be. $118. Oh, let me back up. $118 billion package increases number of border security agents, asylum officers. If anything, that the asylum officers that could actually be good for them. Expands number of detention beds. I mean, that would help him out. Not probably sleeping on the floor or something like that. So I guess that's okay. Increases screens of fentanyl and other drugs. And here we go. Here's where the money goes to. $62 billion in military support of Ukraine, which is Based. 14 billion in military support for Israel. Not based. 10 billion in humanitarian aid for Gaza and Ukraine. Based. 5 billion for partners in Indo-Pacific. Based. So yeah. Can we just take out that 14 billion to Israel, give it to other stuff, and that will be perfect, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the strategy of Johnson is right now do nothing. There's a large number of pro-Israel people. They care about that. And there's a large number of progressive legislators, I'm included, who want to see that Gaza, the people in Gaza don't starve.
You're not a progressive,
get
Schumer.
that aid to them.
No.
Plus, there are some who care about Taiwan, and there's money there to bolster us against China's aggression there. You know, we're in an aggressive world.
So he's trying to downplay the barbarity when it comes to immigration, and he's trying to sell it to liberals who are concerned about Ukraine, and also trying to sell it to progressives who are concerned about Gaza. But, I mean, those provisions were obviously attached to entice people who weren't thrilled about the mean immigration policies that they're supporting. But notice how insulting his pitch is here, especially to progressives. Let's put up the graphic that they showed on the screen. So the humanitarian aid that they're offering to Gazans is $10 billion split with Ukraine. But if you're a progressive who wants that crucial aid to go to Palestinians, well, guess what? You've got to support even more money going to weapons to be used against them in order to get that crucial aid. This is such fucking bullshit. This is downright morally bankrupt. And here's what I say. Chuck, how about you, instead of pandering to Republicans and kissing their ass on national television, take that bill and shove it up your asshole. Just do that, and then go fuck yourself. Like, what a piece of shit. Anyone who supports this bill is a bad person. Period. Full stop. You don't have a moral conscience if you support something like this. But guess what?
Like I said, Mike, the Ukraine aid, that is so vital to, in my eyes, that I can't really just say no like you can. You're being very ignorant on this.
You don't have a moral conscience, and you also happen to be a soulless ghoul, but you oppose it for some reason?
Mike, I can say it to you if you don't bring up, like, the Rus Ukraine aid. That, do you not care about Ukrainians? Like, I can put that right back to you, Mike. Like, you know that, right?
Because you're a partisan hack? Guess what? Desperate times call for desperate measures. I'll accept that too. I accept outcomes in this situation. So if Republicans aren't opposing this for moral reasons, but they're still opposing it, okay. I mean, things are so
that
bad
is their choice.
That we're in a situation where fascist Republicans managed to reverse engineer a positive outcome for the country just by being petulant dickheads. I'll take it. Look, it's not the first time that they've checkmated themselves and tried to pretend like this was a win for them, but I'll take it. I mean, back when Obama tried to team up with Tea Party Republicans to cut Social Security, they rejected his offer then too because it wasn't harsh enough, and then they talked about how, oh, we opposed Obama, and they're going to do the same thing. But you know what? I don't give a shit. I think that the outcomes are what we should focus on, and the policy, not the party, is what we should be looking at. And if the outcome here is good, then I'll take it. And that means if they kill the bill, I don't care why they kill it, I just care that they kill the bill. But in conclusion, shame on any politician who supports this morally reprehensible legislation. I mean, Democrats are pivoting to the right in hopes that they're going to be able to pick up moderate voters after pissing off their entire base.
Or it could be people that vote for it because, you know, the Ukraine aid. Like, I think you're really misplacing the reality that a lot of us
ignoring.
Like, that is very important to us.
By unconditionally supporting a genocide in Gaza. And Republicans, they don't really want to solve any of the issues they claim to care about, because then if they do that, they won't be able to run on anything in the next election. So you've got to keep at least a couple of scapegoats and not solve problems, so that way you can run on it. It's all a show, right? That's the conclusion. Bottom line, it's all a show, and we are witnessing quintessential political theater here, and you should know that.
Just kidding, it's not the end of the video yet, because as we're about to finish editing this, guess what happened? Sawyer Hackett reports that Mitch McConnell is now whipping votes against the bill that he supported this morning.
Really,
and now
McConnell?
Langford is not committing to supporting his own bill.
Mitch.
The
I
hell?
guess they felt like they didn't have the political
You
capital
support what the
needed
hell's going
to
on there? McConnell,
get
you
passed,
dumbass.
And they already exhausted too much whipping votes for it, so they're against it. Who knows? They're a joke, but I guess Mitch McConnell solved his problem of not getting McCarthy'd by caving. I don't know what to say. This party is fucking stupid, so there's the latest update for you. It'll probably change by the time you see this video, but nonetheless, that's where we're at right now. They're now against the bill that they were in favor of. So, cool.
Yeah, and also now I brought that up about Mike not really talking about it, I actually commented in his video. Let me find that comment again. It's not that simple for me, Mike, to vote against this. It would keep aid away from Ukraine, and that is an existential threat that must never be touched. And of course, got a whole bunch of people point out, yeah, that was a good point. Wonder why Mike didn't bring that up. Pretty weird, Mike. So yeah, what do you guys say about that? Republicans being against their own bill, even though they're getting what they want. Absolutely insane.
No surprise. Donald Trump told them to, and they cucked themselves to him.
Like, guys, you're getting what you want.
If you're getting everything you want.
If you're getting what you want, you just take it. Because the only thing you're gonna do is just piss off Democrats enough to the point where they might not even be willing to make that compromise again and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you have the opportunity, you need to just take it. Absolutely stupid. And also, fuck you for trying to stop aid to Ukraine. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Oh my god.
Yep.
Alright, so now, on to the next topic.
The last one. Hockey Canada sexual assault scandal.
I just found out about this earlier this morning when I woke up and reading on my phone and all that, and I decided to talk about that. So, this actually happened over a few years ago, but it's been brought up in the news recently. But Hockey Canada, which is a government body of hockey in Canada, had a sexual assault scandal that just happened recently. To the point where I think it was between 5 to 8 Canadian hockey players are being charged with sexual assault right now.
Fucking hell.
That's a lot of players. And this has nothing to do with the... Actually, no. A bunch of players, I think, are in the NHL, but I don't think it has anything to do with the NHL itself. This is a whole different organization. So, I got the ESPN article up here. It has been a seismic couple weeks for Hockey Canada as 5 current or former NHL players surrendered to London, Ontario police in connection with a sexual assault case from 2018. The 5 players in question: New Jersey Devils forward Michael McLeod and defenseman Cal Fort, Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Carter Hart, Calgary Flames forward Dylan Dubé, which I found out the Calgary Flames tweet out like he's on the leave of the team for mental health and all that. That was really weird. And former Ottawa Senators forward Alex Formenton were part of Canada's gold medal winning Junior World Championship team in 2018 that has been under investigation after a woman alleged she was sexually assaulted by 8 members of the team in a civil lawsuit filed last year, or 2022.
Whoa.
Each player turned himself into London police over the past several days to face charges pertaining to the police investigation. Lawyers of all 5 men confirmed to ESPN that their clients deny any wrongdoing and will fight the charges brought against them. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman told reporters on Friday that the NHL had commissioned its own year-long investigation into the incident and included interviewing every player from the 2018 team. Bettman said the league will not release its findings until after the London Police judicial process is finished. An update on the case from London Police is expected via news conference on Monday, February 5th. Well, that's already happened. So I wonder if... No, it hasn't been updated. It still says February 2nd when this article happened, so I'll know what happened there. So this article goes into detail of what happened. Start off January 5th, 2018. Canada defeats Sweden 3-1 to win gold medal at the 2018 IIHF World Junior Hockey Championship. And then in June of 2018, those 24 World Junior Champions were united 5 months later at the Hockey Canada Foundation Gala and Golf event, a prestigious and well-known annual 2-day fundraiser. Most of the players were given accommodations at the luxurious Delta Hotel, London, whatever. The atmosphere was reportedly convivial, whatever, from the start. I have no idea what that says. That first night, Sunday, June 17th, featured a team-only dinner for the players and staff of the 2018 team to recap and relieve from their achievement. The Hockey Canada Gala began Monday, June 18th. Players spent the day making public appearances around the city and attended a VIP cocktail hour before the official party opened at some place there. There were more than 1,000 attendees packing the former London Convention Center, which might which that night raised approximately $1 million for whatever they're doing. The event wrapped up around 10 p.m. After that, several players reportedly went to Joe Cool's, a sports pub in London's vibrant Richmond Street, and gathered in a black room. From there, the group moved on to Jack's, a bar that reportedly packed with a number of college students from several London's local institutes. It was at Jack's where a young woman referred to in her 2022 statement of a claim filed as EM, one of the players. He would be referred to her in the file as John Doe 1. Per that statement of claim, the woman became increasingly intoxicated before ultimately leaving the bar with John Doe 1 and returning with him to this hotel where the two engaged in sex acts. Afterwards, John Doe 1 invited teammates into the room without the victim's consent. In her statement of claim, she said that the players made her touch herself and perform oral sex on them, and that they engaged in vaginal sex with her without her consent. Well, that's rape then. That's not even sexual assault. That's way worse. Right. When she attempted to leave the room, she was directed, manipulated, and intimidated into remaining there, and came in fear for her physical safety when players brought their golf clubs into the room. Before the woman finally left, she reportedly was coerced into making a pair of videos in which she stated everything that happened was consensual. The next morning, June 19th, the players teed off at London Hutton Country Club to cap off Hockey Canada's gala festivals. Meanwhile, according to the later parliamentary testimony of former Hockey Canada CEO Tom Rennie, the victim's then stepfather called Hockey Canada's Human Resources Department to report the alleged sexual assault that occurred. And this is still a long one going. Rennie testified that he and Hockey Canada President Scott Smith learned that the alleged assault when they arrived back in Calgary for the gala. They sequentially reviewed the information they had with Hockey Canada's risk management and assurance partners. From there, Smith said the representative of Hockey Canada contacted London police. Players were also informed that investigation would be taking place and they were advised to cooperate. Hockey Canada officials maintained that they did not know that which players were allegedly involved in the assault. Neither Heinen Hutchinson LLP, the government body's law firm, nor London police confirmed the identities at the time. Hockey Canada claimed it informed Sports Canada of what allegedly happened, commissioned its own third-party investigation into the matter. So now we're into February of 2019. London police informed Hockey Canada that its criminal investigation was closed. Hockey Canada claimed the women in question declined to speak with authorities or investigators. No charge has been filed at the stage. September 2020, Hockey Canada closed its own third-party investigation into the matter. April 2022, the victim filed her statement of claim with the Ontario Superior Court of Justice seeking $3.55 million in damage from Hockey Canada. The Canadian Hockey League and 8 players, included but not limited to members of the Canada U20 men's junior hockey team from the 2018 World Junior team, May 2022. Hockey Canada settled its case on behalf of the defendants, reaching an out-of-court settlement with the woman for an undisclosed amount. Scott would later testify that Hockey Canada liquidated investments in order to complete the settlement. Later that month, Rennie told Canada's former Minister of Sports to tell her that Canadian news outlet TSN would be breaking a story about the court's filing sequentially settlement. And this Minister of Sports maintains that this was her introduction to the alleged incident in the court case that came afterwards. On May 26, TSN reporter Rick Westhead broke the news of the woman's allegations and lawsuits against the contingent of players and that she had already accepted a lawsuit of the matter. All right, now in June, oh my God, this still goes on not even halfway. After news of the alleged assault in the court case was made public, I think that's the, wait, where's it at? Yeah, the Minister of Sports ordered an audit of Hockey Canada to ensure no public funds were used in the settlement. By mid-month, Rennie and Smith were brought before members of Parliament during a standing committee on Canada Heritage meeting to discuss Hockey Canada's response to the incident question. Both testified that 19 players were encouraged but not required to speak with the government body's third-party investigators. They also add that the identities of these 8 players and the court filing remain unknown to them. the Minister of Sports announced that there was a freeze on Hockey Canada's federal funding until the investigation of a third-party investigation was complete. Several high-profile sponsors, including Scotiabank, Canada Tire, Tim Hortons, and Esso, began distancing themselves from Hockey Canada. At the same time, multiple players from the 2018 World Junior team began releasing statements denying that they were involved in the alleged assault. On June 30th, Rennie retired as Hockey Canada CNO. He had previously released a succession plan in April that had Smith set to take over the role on July 1st. Smith did so while remaining president of the Federation. Oh my God, we're still got a long way to go. Now into July of 2022. Hockey Canada revealed via open letter that it would renege on the previous third-party investigation into the 2018 incident, and that participation by all players from the team would be mandatory, or else they would be face a full ban from future Hockey Canada activities. So it re-engage, I mean to say. So they restarted the investigation. Hockey Canada also became signatory of the country's Office of the Sports Integrity Commissioner, which is able to independently investigate abuse complaints and impose sanctions. The government body also said it would be requiring sexual violence and consent training for all its employees and players connected to high performance programs, and would add a third party review of the organization's governance would be conducted. On July 18th, the Canadian Press reported Hockey Canada has been maintaining a fund of minor hockey membership fees that have been used to pay for uninsured liabilities. That included the sexual assault claims. The following day, Hockey Canada confirmed via public statement that the existence of that fund, called the National Equity Fund, which covered a broad range of expenses related to safety, wellness, and equity initiatives. Hockey Canada quickly announced that from there that the fund would no longer be used to settle sexual assault claims. While Hockey Canada was explaining itself, London Police announced an internal review of its own investigation from 2018. Alright, now we're finally getting a little bit shorter stuff. Now into October. Smith was forced out as CEO of Hockey Canada, and its entire board of directors resigned. Oh boy. An intern management committee was established to guide the organization until a new board was elected. November 2022. Hockey Canada received a final third-party report from the firm that supports them. April 2023. The Minister of Sports announced Hockey Canada federal funding has been restored. I set 3 conditions for them. They've met all 3 of these conditions, she said. It was so that the proper change was implemented in the organization. Alright, so now July. Catherine Henderson was announced as the new Hockey Canada President CEO, which I've read about earlier this morning. November 2023. Hockey Canada revealed that it had received and renewed findings from that third-party investigation report, and that the results were under appeal. That previous hearing is complete. Hockey Canada said in a statement, the panel has proved its final adjudication report that all involved parties. Shortly thereafter, a notice of appeal was filed. As is permitted under Hockey Canada's investigation of adjudication or whatever procedures. The statement did not say who asked for the appeal and whether it was more than one person. In addition, the release said that an independent judicial panel held a hearing to determine whether and how players from the 2018 World Junior team had breached the governing body's code of conduct and debated possible penalties. All players from the 2018 team remained suspended from any programs until the appeal process was complete. Okay? We're now in January of this year. The Globe and Mail reported 5 players from the 2018 were asked to surrender themselves to the London Police, which we already just said earlier. Prior to that news breaking, Formenton and Dube, that's right, they're some of the players, had already been taking leave of absence from their respective teams. McLeod, Foot, and Hart would quickly do the same. Lawyers for all 5 players released statements maintaining the players' innocence on the matter. The London Police announced a news conference that will be held with media on February 5th to provide an update on the investigation and what next steps to be taken thereafter. Oh boy, now we got to a big one. February 5th. The chief and detective of London's police services sexual assault and child abuse section met with media to provide details on where the case stands after charges were formally laid nearly 6 years after the original complaint on June 2018. The London Police Service cited a discovery of new evidence for reopening investigation into the alleged sexual assault involving 5 players from Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey team. In his opening remarks, the chief said there was insufficient grounds after the first investigation to bring charges in the case, which was closed in February 2019. He then apologized to the woman who filed the original complaint that it took so long to reach this point, and said she had fully cooperated with police from the start of the inquiries. Neither detective and chief spearheaded the first investigation, but was asked to launch new inquiries in July 2022. Upon review of the initial occurrence, it was determined that there was additional steps that could have been taken to advance the investigation. When the case was reopened in 2022, our team explored investigation opportunities in addition to the original investigation. These leads were filed, and additional witnesses were spoken to, and we've collected more evidence. The assault case has now been adjourned until April 30th, following a news conference on Monday with lawyers representing the accused and justices of the peace. None of the players were present on the Monday's meeting. There were no charges were read to, and pleas were entered. Now let's see what's next. What's next? Each of the NHL teams with players involved in the case have declined comment beyond the fact that their players have been granted indefinite leave. The NHL and the NHLPA have also declined to make any substantive comments as they await new information. Alright, that was a long-ass read. So, What do you guys say about this? 5 players being accused of sexual assault. And sounds like 2, they were using money that they shouldn't have been using to try and pay out this woman all that. So, I got something to say about that. If this is true, they should face severe punishments for what they did. Absolutely unacceptable if this is true. If this is true, they freaking raped her, for crying out loud. This is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And all that. And this might sound... I'm going to be called probably misogynist for saying this, but women, be careful about drinking out with people. Don't just take drinks from complete strangers, because predators will take advantage of you. That applies to men too, but women are more likely to get sexually assaulted and raped when they're drunk. And it's also a lot more easier, unfortunately, for women to get drunk than men. So please be careful and don't just take drinks from complete strangers. It's being safe and all that. So this is wild and all that. This is more deeper than I thought it would be from years ago. How is something from 6 years ago almost not really covered till now? That's unbelievable. Gotta wonder if there's something going on with the police in Ontario that didn't bring this up. This is just insane. So what do you guys say about it?
Yeah. This is nuts. God, it'd be oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much agree with everything you say. It's just absolutely nuts. And it's oh my.
So well, of course, this investigation's going on. So
we don't drink. This is fucking just reason 10,994 why I don't drink.
Same here.
God damn. And I'm a guy.
Yep. Yep. We complete T-tires on that regard. So like I said, anyone, especially women, don't just take drinks from strangers and all that. They're not trustable. And any of these players that were indeed involved in this, if this is all true, you should face severe punishments for what you did, because this is absolutely unacceptable. To the point, maybe you should even be considered being banned from NHL and other hockey leagues. Because this is just flat out
all the people
evil.
Involved should be permanent banned.
Evil.
Gonna say it now. Even the people,
This is Darren Sharper level bad.
Honestly, I'm going to say it now. The team involved should be at least temporarily banned. To be banned for a season.
Well, this is a couple. This will be a couple NHL teams. And, no! It wasn't. No, it wasn't NHL. It was Canada's junior hockey team.
All right. Yeah, okay.
So I think it was semi-pro.
Retroactively strip medals, or would that be a little too far?
Not sure. Looking up again, because I'm pretty sure junior hockey team. Because it's not they're not. If I remember correctly, they're not pro Canada men's national junior hockey team. It's basically one. It's basically one of Canada's national hockey teams, basically.
Okay, so you wouldn't be able to do individual teams. You'd have to be all the players involved get lifetime bans.
Yeah, and hopefully, and probably get banned from the NHL too.
Yep.
Oh boy. And if this is all true, NHL would be in deep shit. Oh boy.
Oh, yeah, they'd be facing millions and millions in damages. And the reputational damage is going to take years to recover from.
Absolutely pathetic. Man, this is like the second time we've covered hockey in the last few months after that one player died a few months ago, remember that?
Yeah.
So, it looks like the reputation of hockey leagues around the world are taking a little bit of a beating lately. Be it someone dying and now the sexual assault allegation. Hopefully, justice will prevail. Hopefully, if they did do what they are accused of, they should rightfully face the punishment that they deserve. And hopefully this will be a warning to women. Be careful about drinking. And I know we're going to be called like we're going to be called misogynist for saying be safe and all, but it's not misogynistic. It's being smart.
It applies generally to everyone. Be careful with be moderate with your drinking, and don't drink around strangers. Or you can be like me and Tim and not drink at all.
Based. And you don't have to worry about this stuff happening to you.
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, guys, I think that is all the topics after 2.5 hours. All right. So, that is going to wrap it up here. See you all next time for episode 96.
See you guys then.